breaking last year's record for an AFC title game. Reliever Kirby Yates passed his physical and will sign a one-year deal with the Dodgers. In college basketball, Kentucky won at Tennessee. Marquette came back to win at Butler. Kansas held off UCF. And in the NBA, Philadelphia beat the Lakers 118-104. Tyrese Maxey, 43 points. Anthony Davis of LA left with an abdominal strain. Portland beat Milwaukee despite 39 points from Giannis Antetokounmpo. I'm Steve DeSager.
Previously on The Crossover.
Applebee's is Applebee's. And then Olive Garden is Italian Applebee's.
Yep.
Chili's is Tex-Mex Applebee's. What are the other types of Applebee's?
Famous Dave's.
Barbecue Applebee's.
Would Carlos O'Kelly's be Mexican Applebee's?
Mexican Applebee's.
Okay.
Nice.
Let's see. TGI Fridays is Party Applebee's? I'm not sure.
Gary and Matt, The Connor Happer Show. Unsportsmanlike conduct. 6A to 6P. 1620. The Zone. Your Omaha area forecast from the Godfather's Pizza Weather Center and KETV News Watch 7.
Unseasonal warmth sticks around for Wednesday. Expect plenty of sunshine throughout the day with a light southwest breeze in the afternoon. Highs in the low to mid 50s. I'm meteorologist Sean Everson from KETV News Watch 7.
1620. The Zone. Traffic.
From the Plumbright Time-Saving Traffic Center. Good morning. Hope your day is off to a great start. If you are heading out soon, pretty quiet on the roads right now. No major delays showing up. There is a traffic light issue at the intersection of 33rd and Farnham. Those are not working currently. So if you will be approaching that intersection, just do so cautiously. No accidents, obstructions, or slow traffic elsewhere. Just stay safe and wear that seatbelt. I'm Peter Krenzer.
This time-saving traffic was brought to you by IBEW Local 22.
The electrical market requires your company to adjust to an ever-changing field. IBEW Local 22 gives you flexibility with access to journeymen, apprentices, and proven training programs. Call Bob at IBEW Local 22 for details at 402-980-7596.
What goes great with football? Rib Shack Down Home Barbecue and Soul Food. Let Miss Jackie cater your next event with slow-cooked St. Louis ribs, wings, beef brisket, and pulled pork. Visit the Rib Shack in Roxbury Plaza at 108th and Q or at ribshacksmokehouse.com.
Hey, I got you something. What's this? Just a little Galentine's gift from JTV.
Do you mean jewelry television? I love their jewelry. They have the
New customers get $25 off their first purchase of $75 or more. Visit jtv.com/romance.
Yeah, their artisan collections, gorgeous.
Are you going to open your gift?
Oh, yeah. It's the pearl bracelet.
New customers receive $25 off their first purchase of $75 or more. Visit jtv.com/romance.
How's it going? Greg Wagner joining you from the Nebraska Game and Parks Commission. Time now for another Nebraska Outdoor Update. Question, do you enjoy spending time outdoors in a favorite activity? Aha, I knew that. Then I have a challenge for you this year. Why not share what you know outdoors with somebody in your family or friend group? There's somebody in your network anxious to get outdoors and learn the lifestyle. They just need you. Share what you know. Attention park goers, have a friendly reminder that the Nebraska State Park System is open for you. Whether it's wildlife watching or hiking or maybe sightseeing or even winter camping, the majority of our Nebraska State Park areas are available to you. Just need your state park permit and money for those camping fees. By the way, you can get more information about the 76 area Nebraska State Park System online through the Game and Parks website at outdoornebraska.gov. I'm Greg Wagner, Nebraska Game and Parks.
When you're hiring, have you ever felt like you're missing out on meeting truly great candidates for your roles? It seems impossible to find them, but they have to be out there somewhere, right? Well, they're not hard to find when you know where to go, and that place is ZipRecruiter. And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/radio. ZipRecruiter helps 10 million people with their job search every day. And because these people are actively looking for jobs just like yours, it's easy to find the right person right away. In fact, 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. But if you're not using ZipRecruiter, you're missing out. So see what it's like when the impossible is easy. When you go to ZipRecruiter.com/radio right now to try ZipRecruiter for free. Once again, that's ZipRecruiter.com/radio. ZipRecruiter.com/radio. Never miss out on great candidates with ZipRecruiter.
All right, son. Time to put out this campfire.
Dad, we learned about this in school.
Oh, did you now? Okay. What's first?
Smokey Bear said to.
First drown it with a bucket of water, then stir it with a shovel.
Wow, you sound just like him.
Then he said.
If it's still warm, then do it again.
Where can I learn all this?
It's all on SmokeyBear.com with other wildfire prevention tips, because only you can prevent wildfires.
Brought to you by the USDA Forest Service, your state forester, and the Ad Council.
A team succeeds when they work together. Banking's no different. At UBT, we're in your corner for every financial move you want to make. Your money's backed by a roster of experts who put in the work to know you, community. So whether you're opening a account, buying a home, or planning your future, you always know who to turn to. Working together toward your financial goals. That's a win in our playbook. Union Bank and Trust. Equal housing lender, member FDIC.
If you're considering a career in broadcasting, 1620 The Zone and the Nebraska Broadcasters Association Foundation can help you become part of this exciting field. 3 $2,000 scholarships are available to 4-year college and university students who will have completed 30 credits as of May 31st, 2025. Let us help you reach your career goals. For more information, contact 1620 The Zone or click ne-ba.org. Application deadline is March 1st, 2025.
Roofing, siding, and gutters. Make the right call with the rooferys at John Higgins Weather Guard.
1620 The Zone.
Good morning, everybody. How we doing today on a ball day on the Zone, boys?
We are doing incredible. Hey, what is that background you have
fancy.
on your StreamYard there, dude?
I'm sitting in my man cave.
It looks like your mansion. It looks like your look at that. Look at that piano.
Look at that piano.
Is that a bass grand? Is that a bass grand? Look at that.
Yes,
Look at
it
that
is.
Beautiful stone fireplace behind you. That is exquisite, Mr.
Gary
Sharp.
Sharp's Fireside Chats.
Hey, it's absolutely beautiful. I would welcome you into the home studio, but I'm just you probably see some people wandering back and forth during our time together this morning. So I'm trying to protect the innocent.
Yes. So very important people going back and forth doing business in the Sharp domicile. Yes, of course.
There will be business that will be done this morning on the show. Good morning, everybody. Welcome in. Happy Hump Day, everybody. Oh, by the way, Happy New Year.
Yes, it is.
Yes, today, my co-host. Today is the Lunar New Year. It is the year of the wood snake. Are you familiar with the wood snake?
Is it different from the iron snake?
One's wood, one's iron.
I believe there is a little bit of a difference, but happy Lunar New Year. I was just informed of that. And I'm like, I don't know what I'm supposed to do. How do you celebrate Lunar New Year?
Did a very important person come up to your ear, like whisper it into your ear right before you went on air? Mr. Sharp, it's the Lunar New Year. It is the year of the wood snake. I'll just be sitting there all day. Just all day. You'll be on the StreamYard. As soon as you get a valuable stat, someone will come up to you. Mr. Sharp, Nebraska is actually 8-12 in one-scored games basketball this season. That's all.
Is that true?
No. I just
I was gonna say, if you just pulled that stat out before 6:15, you have just wrecked a lot of people's day, because we have an important ball day at NRG tonight. We have the Jays on. I'll be headed up to Vermilion for Omaha and South Dakota. The gimmicky basketball team that plays in the Summit League that has happened to win 9 in a row, that introduced a promotion yesterday that is stupid and also great at the same time.
Yeah,
gimmicky. It's not a Matt Nagy offense. What are you talking about? It's not.
It's a feel-good thing.
There's nothing gimmicky about the
So
UNLV.
I have to tell you that, first of all, I love all the attention that Omaha men's basketball is getting. They're playing at an extremely high level, and it's fun to have people talk about Omaha men's basketball, because usually it's an afterthought and you have to win. But now they are fun. They're talented. You've seen them play in person. They've won 9 in a row. Tough game tonight, though. up in Vermilion against South Dakota. But they announced a promotion yesterday, something that's been going on since the middle of December about after a win, kicking a trash can, and a trash can is involved. So they're getting a lot of attention. So I absolutely love it. I'm just not one of those guys that touches the money because tonight's going to be a tough game. It's going to be a really tough game against South Dakota, only a 1.5 favorite. But this is an interesting night for basketball because we get Creighton and Xavier downtown, and Creighton is a 6.5-point favorite against a desperate basketball team. But two things from yesterday. One, hello, Mother Nature. It was 60 friggin' degrees yesterday, and
61.
Yeah, ooh.
Yeah, it was 61. That's a great call, Mr. Chavez.
Record
it was
high.
61.
61 greater than 60. But you know something? So I went out for my leisurely walk in my neighborhood. I got a walking path right there along the trail. And as I walked by the Maverick Sports Park, where they have the Connie Clausen Field and they have Tal Anderson Park, what could I hear?
Pings.
Ping, 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 ping. Baseball and softball on the 28th of January outside practicing. How great is that?
It'll warm your heart, won't it, Mr. Sharp? It'll warm your heart hearing that. Hearing a little bit of screaming, hearing the shortstop call for the cutoff from the left fielder. Right here, right here, right here. Oh, turning it around. Just hear a little bit of a game of 21 outs going on behind you. Come on, Timmy. We got one out left. Timmy. Pick it up and throw it over. Get in front of it.
I feel like James Earl Jones right now.
But think about like the great sounds of sports that like when you hear them, they warm the cockle. Now, I'm not saying the ping of a bat because I'm a wood guy. I like wood.
Yeah,
and
you like wood.
When you're in an empty ballpark and you hear batting practice, kind of like you remember the sound of the Natural when they were in old War Memorial Stadium in Buffalo shooting that movie, and they'd have Roy Hobbs hitting BP, and he'd be hitting it into the stands, but you'd hear the crack of the bat and the ball, and then you'd hear it clank into the old metal seats. Like the sound of a ball coming off a bat, I think is one of the greatest sounds. Also, right there along, people thinking that a whistle at Allen Fieldhouse is actually going to go against KU. Sorry, Jimmy, I had to slip that in there.
I could have told anyone that. I mean, they know that. It's the Boston Garden.
I don't
My
think
God. Death taxes and people on the road thinking they're going to get a call at Allen Fieldhouse.
Somehow they'll blame the Chiefs for this and because of proximity. So I get it.
There's nothing that and nothing better than 14,000 people in Wisconsin, in Madison, Wisconsin, complaining about a charge or a block. There's nothing better than that either. Oh my God. I've been to those games when I'm rooting against the Badgers and they're all yelling and screaming, "That's a charge! That's a charge! That's a charge! What is?" Oh my God. That is music to my ears personally. That's nothing better than that, especially when it goes against.
Oh, there's nothing like that. But I'm like Central Florida thinking they're going to get a call at Allen Fieldhouse last night. Jimmy, at
Florida
some point,
and regular Florida can't even get a call in that building.
Jimmy, at some point we have to talk about your basketball team.
They're not that good. I mean, they're there, but
they're there. I think that's a really that's a good description. Like they got a lot of guys. They got good players.
Guys.
They got Dickinson and Storr, and like they're athletic and Self is Self. He looks good on the sideline, but they are
stud.
They didn't have DeJuan Harris last night, but for some reason, Bill Self thinks that KJ Adams is Zion Williamson. They were playing three centers. He relies on him way too much, and I don't know what they're doing. It looks like half the time they're out there just up and down the floor. They're just playing pickup basketball. They got lucky last night. They didn't get beat again at home.
Yeah.
Well, another team that looked exactly like that when I was watching them was UNC, who lost to Pitt last night. And it was just one of those things where it's like what they did yesterday with RJ Davis made what Creighton does with Stephen Ashworth look like child's play. I mean, it was ridiculous how much they were relying on I mean, it was like I always compare it to semi-pro with Coffee Black and Jackie Moon, where it's like back to you. It's like they couldn't do anything without him being the in-between anywhere. And then Zach Austin of Pitt had the game of his life yesterday, 15 points, 5 blocks, made some big threes down the way. I mean, Pitt with a massive, massive win over UNC, who was ranked to begin the year, had a really tough non-con schedule. But even in the ACC, Gary, they're falling apart.
ACC is garbage. And they,
And
outside
they're not
of Duke
good.
and Louisville, it's not very good.
Well, Louisville had a hell of a game last night.
Yeah, well, that gets to my point. Watching another night of ball on a big ball day inside of our building with the Jays and the Mavs. But so UNC, I don't know if you're going to be happy being a bystander and being on the bubble in 2 of the last 3 years. But Hubert Davis, they got some issues at North Carolina. Now they played harder last night than I've seen them in the last couple of weeks. But still, they got to win those games, or they're going to be talking about the NIT. But watching hoops last night and talking about Creighton and Omaha. So Creighton plays tonight. They've won 5 in a row. Omaha has won 9 in a row. And I'm watching what they're doing in Louisville, which you always say, like, there's certain teams where you say basketball is better if that team is good. I can honestly say basketball is better when Louisville is playing well and St. John's is playing well. Yes. And they both played last night. You had Hepburn against Hunter. Hunter got ejected for something soft and taunting. But Steve Forbes' team melted down, and Louisville is a wagon. Then you have St. John's, which, be still my heart, I'm going to start watching the old days of St. John's basketball because they haven't been this good since the days of Walter Berry, Mark Jackson, and Chris Mullen. But then even like Michigan State last night, and Michigan State's rolling. They've won 13 in a row, and they suffocate you defensively. I don't think, and this is across the board in sports, but just because college basketball is at the forefront right now, I don't know if we appreciate winning enough. You know, like we're in a job where we like to talk. We tend, unfortunately, to like go towards negative stuff. Mm-hmm. I don't know. I think we need to appreciate winning more because winning is hard.
Winning is so hard, and like there's a reason why there's this. It's a little bit of a cliche, but it's totally true, and I can relate to it back to when I played. Learning how to win. Right. Learning how to, you can have really good teams and you can have talented teams, but if your team doesn't know how to win, there's an art to it. There's a science to it. And some coaches have figured it out and taught their teams how to do that. And there are certain just little things and an attitude that you have to win at the end of games. Michigan State has it. They got Tom Izzo. That guy knows how to win. I mean, I have a stat later for you in the show that we could talk about in relativeness to Nebraska basketball, but it does have a little bit to do with the Big Ten. And Tom Izzo is at the top of that in terms of winning over the last, I think, 14 seasons. And so it's like you look at St. John's, Rick Pitino knows how to win. That's what he's done in his career. He's gone out and he's won. And so like you look at these older coaches who – yeah, a lot of them, like you've had the Tony Bennett's and the Jay Wrights who have kind of gone away and who've decided, okay, this is not the era of college basketball that I want to be a part of because it's changed so differently. But then you still have a lot of these older coaches who have stayed around who still at the end of the day, it's basketball. Basketball is basketball. And I think that nights like yesterday were incredibly entertaining. I mean, top to bottom. I mean, Butler and Marquette was a really good game. A&M Oklahoma was a really good game. Kentucky, Tennessee was a great game. Even South Carolina, Georgia got interesting at the end of that game too. And it's like, I think that we're at the part right now with football being over, essentially. You'll have fans taking a break, right? You're going to have a lot of fans, especially, I mean, we've never had more football in our lives than what we just went through from August all the way up to January. But you're going to have fans take a break from sports. But I think, Gary, and maybe this is a little bit of a bold prediction, but in the past, when people are ready to come back to sports, what have they turned on? They've turned on a little bit of the NBA. They've turned on, hopefully they turn on 1620. They turn on the NHL. I think more people will be turning on college basketball because the product has been incredibly competitive and it's been awesome to watch over these last couple of weeks.
I agree. And not only appreciate winning, but also understanding there are some coaches that can win wherever. Like you got a guy at Louisville who is 49 years old, and he's on the cusp of taking 3 different programs in the NCAA tournament. Mark Pope was out at BYU. Remember when Pope was hired? People were like, why are you hiring this guy? You're Kentucky. Well, all he does is win. Their win last night in Knoxville, where they were down essentially 3 guys, is their 6th quad 1 win, and 4 of them have been on the road. So I appreciate winning. Like just watching last night, this isn't new, but just watching last night, I'm like, man, I appreciate winning. I like winning. the team I'm going to be watching tonight is winning. But there are just certain coaches that I don't care if you put them in Charleston, South Carolina, or Louisville, Kentucky, they're just built to win. And college basketball kind of shows that a little bit more than other sports, in my opinion.
Well, I mean, you go to Mark Pope, right? I mean, pretty sure, when he got hired, it was like, this is like their third option. Like, did they really want Mark Pope? Like, it seemed like they had called other people before they got to him. And it was a little bit of a poo-poo hire in terms of how the public perception of it was, right? You go to Tennessee, they play really good defense. Tennessee now shot themselves in the foot. I mean, they attempted 45 threes. They only made 11 of them, so they missed 34 three-point attempts, which is crazy. They out-rebounded Kentucky by a very wide margin, but watching that end of the game, like, they just needed 3 points, and I don't understand what they were doing at all with trying to rush on offense and get the three right away and not actually take their time and, like, cultivate, like, a good offensive possession. They just started chucking and chucking and chucking and chucking and missing and missing and missing and grabbing their own offensive rebounds and then doing it again until Kentucky finally grabbed it and then they iced the game. Really impressed yesterday. What Kelsey's done over there in Louisville. Like, you talk about Salas like getting knocked out of the game, and that was a soft call. But Louisville dominated, so soft. They dominated that. Like, Salas getting kicked out wasn't the reason why Wake Forest lost. The reason why Wake Forest lost was they couldn't make shots. But on top of that, I mean, Louisville just looked smooth. They looked clean. They were fast. Chucky Hepburn is the floor general, but also such a great scoring option for the Cardinals. I counted like 4 times yesterday where he made open shots for his other teammates and they just missed him.
Yeah.
So I mean, he's playing incredible basketball at a really high level. And when you're a new coach, having a player like that who can lead your offense in that way and not only just get his own shot but make shots for others is a really, really big plus. And then that A&M Oklahoma game, we saw our boy CJ Wilcher had some couple key minutes down the stretch. So it was competitive, man. It was a competitive night of basketball.
So back to Louisville in that game that featured Hepburn and Salas going at each other. They've also done something at Louisville because they have injuries. Like, their roster has been dinged due to injuries. But in that game, so there's part, like Chucky's basically the same guy he was at Wisconsin. He just has people around him that are hitting shots. Like you were just alluding to, that he set guys up and they just didn't hit shots. That happened on a regular basis at Wisconsin. And then all of a sudden he had to take over the game. Some nights he'd be Superman. Some nights the phone booth wouldn't open up. Sure. But he's doing that and they're hitting shots. He's also, I said this last week when we were talking about local players. He is somebody that looks like he's having fun playing. The one thing about Hunter last night, for him to get tossed, so he dunked, he had a dunk and they're down 23. I mean, it was an impressive dunk and he let out the emotion, let it go. Wake Forest fans are killing Hunter because he's celebrating when they're down 20.
Yes.
But for the ejection, that was really, really soft. But that is Wake Forest. They had a meltdown. That whole team was not under control last night. And that starts at the top with Steve Forbes. That looks like a familiar trend that when things start to go sideways with Wake Forest, they have a complete meltdown. And that's what I saw. That's what I saw last night. But come on, man. I mean, I'm looking, we're watching more basketball, as you were saying. I look at Kip Kissinger, who lives right here in Omaha, is one of the better college basketball officials. And they're working a game last night. And he's good. I think John Higgins should come out of retirement. But it's just, games are so choppy around the country and how they're officiated. Like, there's no consistency. And then there's another problem we have in college basketball. It's clear that you and I and our listeners love the sport. We got to fix the last 2 minutes of college basketball. That Tennessee-Kentucky game it took forever. That's a problem in the sport. That is a major problem in the sport of what we're doing in the last 2 minutes of the game.
I have no problem with the replay review in terms of you got to get it right? You have to get it right. And so it comes down to how can we make the process quicker? But what I have a problem with is that I feel like it's a safety net that's used too often by the officials, in the fact that there are times, and this isn't just yesterday's game, which it did happen in yesterday's game, but it's all across the country where it was pretty clear and obvious that went off the Tennessee player. like under the basket. It was pretty clear that it went off of his leg. You're standing right there. You should be able to look at that, say that confidently. Hey, that's off Tennessee. We're going the other way. But because you're in Tennessee's building, because people didn't react the way that maybe you thought they would, because Tennessee is now complaining and saying, no, it went off Kentucky, you now feel like you have to use the safety net of going to the replay to look at it to clearly see, okay, it did hit off the Tennessee guy, where in some regards, and I don't like using this term too often because I feel like it's a cop-out, but like in this case, it's true. That's what you're paid to do. You're paid to look there, see the ball hit off the guy's leg, confidently say we're going the other way. Instead, you feel like you got to go to the replay desk, and it takes 5 minutes. Took 5 minutes to figure that out, because you have to go there. They have to send a signal. They may be looking at other games. You got to pull Johnny out of the closet. Hey, Johnny, what do you think of this? You think it went off him? Yeah. Okay, great. Now we're going the other way. I totally agree. It's just way too long.
Now, in college basketball, there is no general place to watch replay.
Okay.
It's done by the guy. It's done by the officials on the floor.
Well, I don't know why it takes so long then, because they're looking right at it. I don't know what they got it. And then the clock operator, it seems like the clock operator is always falling asleep, and they got to figure that out too. This takes too long. And that's not just a college basketball problem. That's an NBA problem too. Yeah, I mean, you go back to, 3 years ago? Wasn't it the Clippers versus Suns, the last minute and a half of that game? When they had that dunk in the valley at the last 2 seconds. You know what I'm talking about? DeAndre Ayton.
That's way back. There's a lot of stuff has happened since then. Fill me in.
But no. But that's another. I mean, this has always been a common theme where the last 2 minutes take way too long.
All right, coming up on the show, John Walker will stop by again. Creighton puts their win streak on the line tonight. Big game at the Chai against Xavier, who is in desperation mode. Not in the tournament, but Greg McDermott says they should be, and they will be. Weird scheduling in the Big East, that this is the first time that the Muskies and the Jays have played, but the X-Men are already done with UConn, Marquette, and St. John's.
Yeah. It's
been a problem in the Big East, like unbalanced scheduling, and I don't know if it's because a lot of teams play in NBA arenas, so the schedule gets a little jerky, but it's weird. But this is the first meeting tonight. Creighton is a 6-point favorite. John Walker from the World Herald will join us coming up at 9. Brandon Vogel stops by at 9:40. That's the lineup brought to you by the rooferees of John Higgins Weather Guard. I'll be in for a little bit and then off to Vermillion, where Omaha takes on South Dakota tonight, trying to win their 10th in a row and wrap up the first half of the Summit League at 8-0. I just realized that hopefully the voice holds out. I tell you,
I was going to ask, I wondered, stuffy or?
Well, I think it's I think I just got a little bit of cold. But here, I got to tell you something. You were saying you had a half cold yesterday.
Yeah,
you got the other half.
How in the hell does anybody have a half cold? You're either in or you're out. Okay.
I was in.
You're like, the left side of my face has a cold, the right side of my face doesn't. But I'm going to take Zicam, and it's just going to mess me up, right?
Yeah.
I don't. Exactly. I don't think that's. I don't think you can do that.
I definitely can do that. I was not.
I don't think you can have a half cold.
Can I tell you something right now?
Dr. Phil, who was out there with the Raids in Chicago, I don't think he would stop and say, "There's no such thing as a half cold." By the way, that's a bizarre world that he's with them.
So, okay, real quick. If I had said, "Hey, Gare, I have a cold. I'm sick. I can't come into the show last minute," and then you gave me a FaceTime, and you FaceTime me, and you saw me in which
point in your face. I'm stuck right here.
And I'd be like, look, I have a cold. You would be like, you are so soft. You are so soft for not coming in. You look totally fine. You are talking totally fine. And I had a cold. And last Thursday we had like a great show. And Friday we had a great show.
That's true. He doesn't miss work.
We had a great show. We honestly, I probably did. You're right, Jimmy. I probably did do my best work when I had the cold. And so if you were to FaceTime me during that time, you'd be like, I don't know. What's wrong with this kid? Like, I don't know if I can work with him. This new generation, they're not showing up to work. So I showed up, even though, I had a little bit of a raspy throat and my nose was a little stuffy, but it wasn't a full on, because I've had colds where it knocks me out, where I can't come to work.
A cold?
Yeah, for sure.
Cold?
Oh, yeah. where it's like your head, you got a headache. It's
I
just
don't know
like-
how we can deal with this new generation.
I'm on the verge of death from a hangover, and I still show up at work.
I've
They
had
get
bad
school off for simple things. I mean, God,
All
this
these
is where this country is going.
You guys had more days off than we did because you had to walk to school. I mean,
No. They didn't cancel school. They said walk.
Yeah.
Never once in
you
the
made it. You made it.
Yeah. Your new generation. You're soft. You'll never understand. Just remember to take care of me when I'm in the home. All right. Because I'm still going to be 70 and hard.
I'll take care of you.
Gonna leave that alone.
Yeah, I'm gonna leave. I'm gonna go right past that.
Hey, but with that said, here's the deal.
Here's the deal.
It is going around Omaha because there was a local school that basically had to shut down because there were so many illnesses. So there is something going around. I'll give you a soft Matt. I'll give you that out.
You are not going to blame me for you having a slight cold right now.
Matt did have
Jordan had a cold and he went for 65.
He had the flu.
Well, then he did something else. I'm saying he had a cold once. He went for 65.
Fair enough. No, you're fine. I'm not. If you get COVID, you can blame it on me. If you get COVID, you can blame it on me.
He will.
Yeah.
He's already said what he'll do.
Jimmy, would you like to fill in Matt if that happens?
If that happens, I'll be doing a lot of filling in for Matt in general until we figure out what we're doing going forward.
Yeah, I've been told that I'll be eating my food out of a tube for quite a while.
You can't feed the dead.
I have survived NRG Media as the last bastion of not getting COVID. And if I get it 5 years later, there's going to be hell to pay.
So, real quick, did you see what happened
COVID story
in the VCU SLU game?
Yeah, people love basketball, Matt. They got to fight for the right for their team.
I got a question for you. Since when was it okay? We're not going to show the streaker, right? We're not going to show the streaker. We're not going to give attention to the streaker because they are running around naked across the court or the field or whatever it may be, right? We're not going to give attention to them. The classic Mike Tirico. Obviously, we won't show you what's going on in the field, but currently there is a civilian who is running across and authorities are still trying to get a hold of him. But when there is a brawl going up in a VCU SLU game and people are just throwing punches at each other, yelling at each other. You got this person in like a velvet red jumpsuit who's standing on top of chairs, who they cut to the announcers. 1 second, when they cut back, they're like 8 rows up more, fighting more people. We have no problem showing people being passed out in student sections and people fighting each other in the stands. But no, when the streaker comes out into the field, when it's actually entertaining, we go, oh, no. Oh, no. We can't do that. We can't show him attention. That guy they were showing the dude who was like yelling and screaming. You could clearly see his face. If you're a friend of his, you're like, oh, that's Kyle. There's Kyle there. Kyle, he's coming. He's going to work today. People are like, "Hey, how's the game? You okay? Did he get into the clink?
Are you sore?
Like, what the heck is that?"
Hey, it was the Royal Rumble. It's you got your Royal Rumble pool. I was waiting for you to pick. Are you going to be the VCU fan or the St. Louis fan? And then remember that Jim Ross in 2001 was the greatest Royal Rumble call all time. It's very rare to see it last night because you hardly see brawls in college environments.
Especially in that one.
And that's what we need. We need more of that.
Well, it was right behind the bench. Did you see VCU? The players were like, what the hell is going on here?
They were in a huddle.
Is this our fight?
And they had the camera perfectly like under the guys, right? And I'm assuming just the camera man or woman was like 5'4", so that was the angle that they could get. And like these guys were like, their coach was down there like telling them, right, we got to do this, we got to do that. It's a close game. It's 6 minutes left. It's a minute 10 to go. Like it's an important like game. And you can just see them looking up the entire time, up at like, what the heck is going on? It was great.
You see all the viral videos of crap that happens in professional sports. There's a lot of stuff like Washington fans, I guess, weren't treated very well in Philadelphia. Buffalo fans were treated very well in Kansas City. So take that, all you chief deranged syndrome people out there. But in college, it's very rare to see like a brawl. Like just to see a full out like a haymakers flying.
I actually and that was rare.
In the stands?
No, on the court.
You had a chick fight?
We had a chick fight. Yep. We had a huge
Really?
fight. It was 20 minutes, and I really was desperate for a color guy because I couldn't go to break. And so I went into, Ferdy Pacheco and Harold Letterman and, just good boxing call. And then they had to go to the monitor to review to see who was getting kicked out. It turns out that we finished with 5 people and 2 less coaches. And Memphis, that's where we were playing, finished with 6 players and 3 less coaches. It was great.
I can't wait for the John Boy breakdown. Cannot wait. I was sitting on my couch thinking about that. And I'm like, I can't wait till Jimmy gets his hands on this. He'll get the other. You know that there are phone angles out there too of like the different angles of how it started. Oh, I can't wait for the
Yelling
breakdown.
World Star.
It'll be so gone. Screw you! No, screw you! And then this guy comes through, and this is my red hat here. He jumps over the crowd into blue shirt, and they start swinging at each other.
Like, what if you were a player and that was like your mom or dad? Would you go up in the stands?
That's happened to me before with hockey. Like
mom or dad?
Mom.
Shout out mom.
Like mom yelling at other hockey parents who were yelling at me on the ice, and then there was like a lot of like yelling and screaming in the stands like during a hockey game, and like we're playing, yet all of her parents are yelling at each other, and you can hear the argument going on.
You guys are
It's
getting
crazy.
along, just playing hockey.
We're not getting along. We hated each other. We were like 2-33.
Hey, it's uncomfortable. I used to be in the AAU basketball world with somebody that was playing, and it was not me because I didn't say a word watching these games. But the person I was with got into it with a person in front of me, and I thought it was going to be a fight. And I'm like, oh, for the love of God, for the love of God.
People are starting to understand like AAU baseball and AAU basketball more so. I mean, AAU basketball is already there, but hockey beat them to the punch. Travel hockey has been that way since like the early 2000s. Now we're getting to the point of where it's like ultra competitive, and people are putting way too much money into it. It's great, man. Welcome to my childhood. That's what it was. That's all that was.
In the Atlantic 10 basketball, it just means more.
I didn't know the Rams and the Billikens were such a storied and heated and
Most
traditional rivalry. I mean, it looked like a Falcons Saints game up there. It was crazy.
All right, we're off and running on a Wednesday morning. Again, Creighton's home tonight. Mavs are on the road. The two teams that right now are inside of the bracket on the 29th of January. Also, when we come back, Rocco Spindler is in the UNL directory.
Yeah,
but I'm still in the UNL directory. What does that mean?
Am I in the UNL directory? I think
Probably.
I'll look that up.
It takes a while for you to get exited out of the UNL directory. It's actually very easy to get into the UNL directory. He's in the UNL directory, but that doesn't necessarily mean what you might think it does. We'll get into the Notre Dame offensive lineman who was in Lincoln yesterday, but might be headed somewhere else. That's coming up when we return. There's Matt and Jimmy. I'm Gary. It's Gary and Matt on 1620 The Zone. All right, welcome back in on a Wednesday. Happy Hump Day, everybody. Gary, Matt, and Jimmy all here for you. Rocco Spindler may not be for you in GBR land. The offensive lineman from Notre Dame was in Lincoln yesterday. It's gone quiet.
It has gone quiet.
But here is the thing about this situation. As we found out now in the portal world and recruiting, sometimes it's tough to get information. Now, there were some crystal balls that showed up yesterday for Nebraska, and he has his representatives are the ones that handle the information. But I want to go back to something that you learn this early when you're chasing recruits and you're chasing portal guys. Like the portal guys, they pop up on the radar, and all of a sudden they're on campus and they commit or they go somewhere else. So it's not like covering high school recruiting.
No.
The UNL student directory, once you are admitted, not enrolled, but admitted, so you could go to school at Nebraska, you are put in the UNL directory.
Yeah.
So that's why you will see guys that never showed up to play sports at Nebraska will show up in the UNL directory. This was well before you got to UNL, but when I was at Nebraska, they used to publish a phone book, and that's where I got the most information, like to, get scoops and stuff, because everybody's home address in Lincoln, their phone number would be published, and even some of their where they're from, like their home address, like let's say Tommy Frazier being from Bradenton, Florida. So you would have his address and phone number in Lincoln, and you would have his home address and his home phone number in Florida. That used to be a deal. And you'd grab the phone book and you'd immediately start looking for athletes. Yep. You're like, oh, okay, where do they live? All right, let's get a hold of them. Oh,
I did not know that. That's crazy.
We had that too until about 04.
That's the type of invasion of privacy. It's not an invasion. Maybe I think it is an invasion of privacy that would never ever happen today.
They made it easy for you.
By the way, real quick, for those who are wondering at home, I am out of the directory. I am no longer in the student directory. I graduated and they go, get him the hell out. We are done. We are ridding ourselves of any trace of Matt McMaster.
Wait.
We are over.
They haven't hit you up for money yet?
No. My high school is hitting me up for money now. And I am like, hell effing no. I don't even work yet. Well, at the time, it didn't even work yet.
No, don't tell them you're working.
I cannot wait until UNL asks me for more money. I'm already paying. I literally paid them yesterday. So for just my schooling. So there you go.
A student loan.
Yeah. Starting those now.
Yeah. Welcome to the real world, my friend.
Yeah. My grace period is over.
You mean Biden didn't help you out there?
Joey B didn't. Unfortunately, he did not swoop in. Uncle Joe did not swoop in and say, no, you don't have to do that anymore. No, I still got to pay my student loans. So then it finally went through. Funny enough, I tried submitting the payment like 4 times and it wouldn't take it. And I was like, is this the first time ever in government history that they're refusing to take anybody's money? Typically, I'm not even giving it to them. They just take it without me giving them permission. But this time, I was actively trying to give them money and they wouldn't take it. And then they were telling me I was overdue. And I'm like, I'm not overdue. You won't take my money.
Yeah, there's certain places where you want to give them your money and it's tough to do. OPPD, MUD.
Oh my God.
I just want to pay my bill.
Wait. I have to call OPPD today. Not a joke. That's something I have to do. Because they, attaboy Jimmy, they literally we're like, oh, we're going to send you an email and you can set up your account and like everything is like going to get set up and like whatever. And then you can put your deposit down. I'm like, great. It's been 2 weeks. Haven't gotten an email. Haven't gotten a call. Haven't gotten anything.
So you're getting free power from OPPD.
No, my ticker
my
ticker is started. So I have to but I have to start
where's your ticker located?
I don't know where my ticker is located. They told me, they go, we started your ticker. They flipped the ticker. And so now the ticker's going. And going beep, beep, beep. And when I set up my 4th TV yesterday, it was a whoop, 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 whoop.
You are just burning through cash. I got a spot for you. I got a nice couch. I'll see you in 6 months.
I'm not burning through cash. I'm doing
He
a
says
fine
now.
job. No, I'm okay.
I said that when I was your age.
First month of rep was free. It came with the deal, so I was okay. It helped me get all the tables and
You'll learn,
beds
kids.
and couches and lions and tigers and bears and TVs. So,
so back to Rocco. At this point, it's all speculation, but so there's also the academic calendar at Michigan and Nebraska, which is now passed to be enrolled for the winter. What does all of that mean? I mean, we're trying to go, okay, well, you have to be in by now. But here's what has happened overnight is there is speculation. So his former Notre Dame teammate could remain his teammate. Pat Coogan is going to visit Michigan on the weekend. And they are trying. Steve Wiltfong was the first to report this, that the Spindler group is working with Michigan on some NIL stuff, and that these two may take a visit to Ann Arbor this weekend. So who knows where this is headed? But he was in Lincoln. He hasn't committed anywhere. He's in the student directory. That doesn't mean anything. But this, I don't know. There's part of me that we've seen this scenario before. But then there's part of me that, like, this seems like the right place for him. But once Steve Wiltfong mentioned NIL, I thought, oh boy. Because Michigan has also missed out on some linemen they wanted. So they have, as you know, an abundance of cash.
Yes.
So I would say buckle up, but don't, if this doesn't come to fruition, don't lose sleep over it.
No. And I think what offensive linemen, and I've noticed this, Gary, more so than most positions, is one of those things, is one of those positions where even if you don't necessarily have a need for it, even if you don't need an offensive lineman, you're going to see teams, if they have an abundance of cash, be in on offensive linemen, because just having depth in general is so important, and just taking as many shots in the barrel at these guys, trying to find your perfect rotation is so worth it. I mean, Spindler is a great example of that. He was a guy who didn't start to begin the year. He was not starting at Notre Dame to start the season. But then guy went down to injury. He stepped up. He ended up playing at a high enough level where they kept him in the lineup for the rest of the year. And so just having depth at O-line, it's just such a competitive market. And you know, I'm trying to look at the UNL academic calendar and trying to see here, but there definitely is a scenario where he can enroll in classes, I'm sure, and be in classes and have a canvas set up and whatnot. And then when he decides, okay, if he ends up going to Michigan, he can just drop those classes. And I'm sure the NIL money will cover whatever credits they might have to pay off if he ends up dropping out of UNL classes and then rolling into Michigan. I don't really know what the logistics are, but I agree. It's a guard. You need Nebraska more so has a question at the tackle position. Would you love to have him? Sure. If you don't get him, is it the end of the world? No. And we talked about it yesterday, where you have guys like Justin Evans and you have Latovsky and you have Sam Sledge and you have some of these younger guys that have been developing within this program for a little bit now, where it benefit them to start the clock now, as you would say in baseball, right? And have them playing now and have them gaining that in-game experience now. At the same time, if you can get a dude who played 13 games last season for the second best team in all of college football, that is a absolute plus. So anything to make the offensive line better. I'm not ready to. I mean, we could maybe start talking about why can't UNL get these guys, because now if you want to go down the list.
Now I know this. Nebraska has been aggressive here on this particular candidate. And if he's looking to play with his teammate, what's Nebraska's next option? Because his teammate, who is scheduled to go to Michigan, who's at Ole Miss today, has no interest in Nebraska.
Yeah. Well, I do want to say this, though. So they missed out on Isaiah World, who is the tackle out of Nevada. They missed out on Keegan Trask, who was the tackle out of Wake Forest. They missed out on Roderick Tialavia, who came from Washington State. Then they lost out on Shiza Pete, who was coming from New Mexico State. Now they find themselves in a running here for another guard. I like that they're going after them. I like that they're in the top 2 and the top 3 in every single one of these guys, and they're really trying to make an impact on the O-line. But if they were to miss out on Spindler, and I know it just doesn't always come down to money, but I would just like, that might be a question for Rule. when, he steps up to the podium next time? Why do you think it is that you guys get really close to getting offensive linemen but can't seal the deal?
Yeah, I think that's a fair question. And Rule speaks on Saturday morning. Is it we don't have any offensive linemen working out at the Senior Bowl? We don't have any guys going to the league, even though you're going to have the starting center in the Super Bowl that was just recently at Nebraska, and a guy who was undrafted is a backup with the Eagles in Nick Gates. No, I think these are fair questions, and I think to help us better understand, I would like Rule to go there. He really the only one he kind of went there subtly was Walter Rouse. How Nebraska got yo-yoed around, and they got screwed. I mean, that kid played them. But I don't know, because you have to be careful here of saying why somebody's here, because you could put yourself in a bad light. I just know privately they've been aggressive, and this may be a Rule thing where they have a ceiling of we're not going to go above that.
I wonder, though, maybe next year when you go through this process of having a salary
maybe
cap.
Next year develop guys that can vet longer and you have a better relationship with. And I'm not jumping on you, but I'm saying that's what we all want, and that's what has to happen at Nebraska. Because you're going to have to pivot. If you're going to say we're striking out on a majority of the offensive linemen we go after, then you know what? Let's focus on, we've been aggressive recruiting high school kids. Let's put our resources into developing them.
No, you're and I think that's true for both the trenches. But even so, offensive linemen, and we talked about it yesterday a little bit, it's one of those positions where it's like, even if you're like, okay, our offensive line is solid. If there's a guy available that's going to make it better, you're going to go out and you're going to try and get him. And if you have a connection there, you don't really see that in a lot of other rooms where it's like, if you're good at wide receiver, hey, we're good at wide receiver. We don't really need to go out and get another guy because the room starts to get crowded and then you don't let guys develop and play or whatever. And you can go down the line or whatever. But I wonder next season if when they are making their cap and they are deciding, okay, we're going to give this position group X amount of money and this position group X amount of money, if they decide, all right, we're going to have to up the amount of money that we are allotting for offensive linemen because last season we clearly didn't have enough resources in there, to go and finish the job on some of these guys. And my next question would be, okay, if you're upping the allotment on O-line, what would you take away from? And I think that's, the position we're in college football. Those are the tough decisions that a lot of these teams are going to have to make when they're evaluating who gets what slice of the pie.
Well, I also think in the world of the portal, when it comes to offensive line, and there's no coach out there that will tell you that they want their homegrown guys that are in for 2-3 years that they're able to develop. It does take your inability to plug holes to buy some time. It does speed up your younger offensive linemen that, they're a redshirt freshman. They should be on the field. Okay? None of this, this is a program that back in the day, linemen didn't get on the field until their third or fourth year. And they had a fifth year because they redshirted. Nowadays, I think if you are not being able to plug older guys as bridge guys, then the Sam Sledges of the world, when they're redshirt freshmen, they need to be playing. Grant Bricks needs to be playing this upcoming year. Redshirt freshman, not another year of development. It's go time. So whatever it takes to get somebody physically and mentally ready to play on the offensive line, you're starting the clock at year 2 to go, okay, is this going to work or not?
Well, look at Gunner. I mean, that happened to Gunner, where they didn't want to. They didn't want to start the clock on Gunner and his development within in-game, experience in the Big Ten, but they had to. And now
I'll be honest, I didn't think his clock would ever start, but that's on him. That's impressive.
Yeah, and now
I'm high on him coming out of Southeast.
We're sitting here now, Gary, and we're like, that guy's solid. That guy's good. We're excited about the future of Gunner Katula. I mean, that just kind of proves your point a little bit where, hey, we're in a sink and swim world of college football. And some of these guys got to be thrown into the water, and Nebraska and other programs very quickly have to figure out if these guys are going to sink or if they're going to swim.
Yeah, and you can't say, for example, like Pritchett. I don't think Pritchett is standing in the way of somebody's development because Nebraska needs tackles. Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
They're paying for issues, 4 or 5 recruiting classes ago, 3 recruiting classes ago, that there weren't tackles and there wasn't retention tackles, or the tackles that were here are not guys that can play in the Big Ten Conference.
Yeah. Or they're getting injured.
And that's the thing about Spindler is people at Notre Dame will tell you that he's good if he can stay healthy.
Yeah.
That's why you know my thoughts on Pritchett. I do give him credit. He played 13 games in the SEC. He started 13 games last year. So he answered the bell every single time. And in a position where you have a need of a big Alabama offensive lineman because the guys that have been there that were supposed to be your stalwarts to be multi-year starters, they have an injury history.
Yeah, totally right. Totally on board.
All right, hour number 2 is coming up. We'll dive more into little hoops. Again, Creighton is home tonight for Xavier at the Chai. That game will be right here on the Zone. We'll be over on 1180 as Omaha takes on South Dakota, trying to finish up the first half of the Summit League 8-0 and kick some more trash cans.
Heck yeah.
Here in Vermilion. Vermilion. Which you would not think this. It's the closest school to Omaha, but it's not that much of a rivalry.
That's weird. That's weird.
Yeah.
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 Coyotes and Mavericks. Maybe they do get along.
Let me think about that.
Yeah.
Gary and Matt with Jimmy. Hour number 2 is coming up next. All right, hour number 2. Where did you go?
I had to charge my computer. I was on my computer late last night. Look, I don't know if we're going to get to it when you're on the show, or we'll get to it when you're on your way to Vermillion, South Dakota. But I went into a deep, deep rabbit hole yesterday. Basically, I went into a rabbit hole on the relative success of Nebraska basketball since they joined the Big Ten.
Wow.
And whether or not that should...
Why'd you do that to yourself?
Yeah.
And whether or not that should influence the coaching decision and currently where Fred Hoiberg is at in terms of his job security.
You know what? I like that. We don't kink shame here. Cool.
You know what I'm saying? Like, are you following? Like, people are like, well, even if he would finish with this record, it would still like be one of the better 3 season stretches in Nebraska basketball, in recent and I'm trying, and I'm going back. I went back at the capsule to be like, is that really a bar to clear? Like, is that really like an argument to make? You want to dive into it? You want to dive into it now, or I can hold on. Okay,
No.
I know. You looked at me.
All I'm worried about on Thursday night, 7:30, when they play Illinois, is do they play hard? They're going to be an underdog, and it's going to be a test. And Illinois, when they're healthy, they're, I think, right there below Michigan State in the Big Ten. But if they don't play hard at home, then you don't have to don't throw numbers at me in past history. Just throw me performance.
What is the spread of that game?
I think that'll probably be
4.5,
6, 7. So
so
Creighton's a 6-point favorite tonight. By the way, it doesn't surprise me because South Dakota plays well at home, and they play a funky style where they're the highest scoring team in the Summit and they're the worst defensive team. Like, they like to play the Paul Westphal NBA style where it's 1-9. They played a game against St. Thomas that it was 119-104. So Omaha tonight against 7-0 in the league, South Dakota's 3-4, is only a 1.5 favorite on the road.
Sounds like a fun game to call.
That is crazy.
There's
Yeah.
that.
Are you? Yeah. From a broadcaster's perspective, are you like excited about it because it's going to be like a high energy game, or a part of you is like,
No
man,
zone?
like, I'm going to be doing a ton of talking?
No, I think there's going to be a difficult game tonight for Omaha.
Yeah. Just too fast paced, probably.
They press you the entire game. Like, if you get going, you could blow them out. But I think it'll be a tight game. But just remember that Omaha's 15-4 against the spread this year, and people, it's weird. Let me just vent for a little bit about Omaha basketball, and then we'll get to Andrew.
No, do it.
So Omaha's getting a lot of national attention, and it's great. They've got the thing that it's our thing, where after games they destroy a trash can, and it's turned into a fun promotion on Saturday night at Baxter when they're home to take on Denver, that you can bring your own relatively sized trash can and they'll put popcorn in it for $5, and it's getting a lot of run. I mean, media are talking about it. It's a fun promotion. It's just kind of, this is a fun team. So, but like the Jeff Goodmans of the world and the Rob Dosters are talking more about Omaha, and Omaha's sitting on brackets as a 15 or 16, and it's great. They haven't had this kind of attention really since the 18-19 year. But it's funny that in this league, though, less people are talking about Omaha. Like, people in the Summit League want to crap on Omaha. Well, the national people are like, this is great. This is a great story. It's a fun promotion. I don't, because they live outside of the Dakotas.
Here's the thing, though. Like,
we're not the Midco team. We're not in Sioux Falls. We're not covered by the South Dakota media.
Sure. Are you telling me there's a Dakota bias within the Summit League?
Absolutely.
My friend, welcome to the Summit League.
Yeah. Okay. Fair enough. It's like an East Coast bias, but it's in the Dakotas. You know what? Part of me wants to say good for the Dakotas because they don't have a lot going for them in general.
They grow winter.
You know what? Let's just, Garrett, I'm actually going to go against you here. I disagree with you. I'd give it to them. Let them write the presses in the Summit League. They don't got too much going up there anyway. They got to hold on to something. So let them be haters. Let them be writers. Let them focus on North Dakota State, South Dakota State. Let them worry about Montana. Let them worry about all that. You guys just win games. Just win games and kick asses, because that's what you've been doing. You kicked Denver's ass. You kicked Kansas City's ass. You kicked ORU's ass. You dominated. I mean, St. Thomas came back, but you were in full control of that game for a very long period of time. Like Omaha's not only just winning these games, Omaha is controlling and kicking teams' asses right now. I mean, it is. Let them be mad. Let them be angry. Keep
Sounds
kicking
like a good
asses
promo.
and keep whipping garbage cans, right? And keep trashing garbage cans. And you know what? When they send you the bill, hey, we're going to need $150 for your garbage can. UNO goes, no problem. No problem. Adrian Dow over there, I'm sure Adrian Dow is happy to pay the bill for the garbage cans you guys are beating up.
Well, this is what they should do on Saturday night. And again, I like the promotion. I've been in that world. Yeah, so it's a stupid promotion, but it makes sense, and people are talking about it. And you don't usually get like these kind of promotions with college athletics. This is straight out of minor league baseball. But what they should do is everyone that brings a can, and this is if Omaha wins on Saturday, and I don't like it because I don't like touching the money because it's going to be a tough game tonight, and you be 8-0, and then we can talk about this promotion. But they should line up every trash can, and these are like the size of the trash cans you put in your bathroom. It's not like you're bringing the big waste management thing into the building, which is unfortunate because I probably will.
I would.
I would too.
I'd bring the gallon.
They should just line all of them up and let KB, Kyan Brown, who is the assistant coach who started this fun tradition after games, after wins, they should just let him kick all of them. Just go right down the line.
No, get him a mini belt. And then just have them it's like a blessing, like holy water. Like you fill up. No. Here's what they should do. Here's what the vendors should do. So you should bring your
public university.
You should bring your trash can up to the popcorn stand. They should fill up the popcorn stand, and then the vendor should take a little belt and then just whack the trash can with the popcorn in it. Boom, here you go. And then it's christened. Here you go. Popcorn. Whip it with a little belt. Here you go. That'll be $5. Popcorn. Whip it with the little belt. Here's your $5.
Hey, I wasn't surprised they put this promotion together because they've been talking about it during this win streak. I was just really surprised that Baxter Arena is going to allow popcorn to be sold for $5.
That was the takeaway.
Most expensive popcorn in the Summit League.
Hey,
usually that popcorn's getting you about $8 to $10.
Butts and seats. I'll tell you something right now. That burger that I had the last time I was at Baxter Arena, holy crud.
Okay.
What'd you pay? About $17 for it?
I don't remember what I paid.
Remember, he's burning through money, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
But they toasted the bun, Gary. They toasted
made with
the
love.
bun. I got it, and I flipped open the bun to put my ketchup on, and it was toasted. And I go, who in their right mind, in what arena, in America in general, is doing the effort to toast the damn buns before they put the beef and the patty and everything on the burger?
It's a Staples Center in
It's
Omaha.
incredible. You don't get that type of service in some of the biggest arenas in the country. And good old Baxter Arenas goes, no, we got the Blackstone fired up. Here's a little butter. Here's some potato buns.
So they don't have this at the UC.
No, well, we have
saying in the comment.
We have a deli at the UC. You can go to the UC and you can get a nice Reuben sandwich or a nice ham and turkey sandwich.
But
or
they don't toast
maybe
your
you
bun?
go to the Goose Island Club. You get some tater tots, some buffalo tater tots with blue cheese crumbles on there.
Damn it.
UC's nice, man. UC's. Have you been to the UC, Gary?
Yes, I have. Yes,
It's
I have.
incredible.
It is very, very nice. But
Very nice.
and
gonna have to go Saturday.
for the record, Omaha Athletics have no control over the concessions. So there
Yeah,
you go.
I wasn't saying that. I wasn't saying that.
No.
I didn't mention that.
We still have Andrew?
We do.
All right. Andrew, thanks for holding. I'm sure you want to talk about tonight.
Oh, Andrew.
I think you did.
Andrew.
Oh, call back. Call back, Andrew.
Call back. So yeah, go ahead, Gary.
No. That was just you were staring into the abyss, hollering at Andrew.
I think it's a little weird. Does every team have to play St.
Yes.
John's, Marquette, and UConn in a gauntlet? Because Xavier is playing that gauntlet. So Xavier's coming off of playing those three teams, and then Creighton. And then Creighton, in a week or two, has to do that same thing where they play Marquette, UConn, St. John's back to back to back. and you're looking at Xavier coming into this game, they're coming off of playing Marquette, St. John's, and UConn back to back to back. Does every team have to do that? How the hell does that work? How the hell are multiple teams playing the top
a little
3
bit because Creighton just went through a soft part of their schedule and they did work.
Yeah.
Now UConn was in there and they won a road game at UConn, which is going to go a long way here in about 6 weeks. I don't know. They've had this for a while, and I think it's a question to be asked. I think it has to do with the Big East schedule usually doesn't come out until like September.
Okay.
Or even about September is when it comes out. But you have quite a few NBA, NHL arenas that are in play.
Sure.
So that probably dictates the schedule. It's just Xavier and Creighton haven't played, and they're done with UConn, Marquette, and St. John's already. So when Max says they're an NCAA team, they went through that gauntlet because they started 1-4, but they played better of late, and they won Saturday at home in Cincinnati against UConn. I don't know. It's a weird schedule, but it's also like, you're in what, an 11-team league, and you've got DePaul's not very good. Seton Hall's not very good. I'm wondering about Georgetown because Georgetown got off to a great start, and we're like, Ed Cooley's turning around. They were god awful last night. They were down 37-9, and there were more people in my living room than were at the game in DC.
Well, another thing too. Fanta was on the call for the St. John's
friend of the show,
Georgetown game, and he goes, because I start watching the game. He goes, "Yeah, St. John's has gone Big East games with making 1 3-pointer in the entire game, and they made 6 yesterday, and they were raining threes on Georgetown yesterday. I mean, that's how bad the Hoyas were. I mean, the fact that St. John's is raining threes down your throat." When they're like they
don't shoot threes. They're like outside the 150 in 3-point efficiency, but they have an elite defense though. So that travels, wherever they play, because it doesn't make sense. Like for them not to in a sport where the 3 is taken off, for them not to shoot the 3 ball very well, but still be where they're at because they're 18-3, 9-1 in the Big East. It's because they have elite defense. I mean, every night, Pitino's team is in your grill.
Oh, yeah. And they're big, too. They're long. Look, I just looked at Georgetown's schedule. They played Marquette, UConn, and St. John's back to back to back. I've never seen that before. I mean, maybe it's a smaller league, but they played, once again, 3 of the 4 best teams back to back to back. They're the 3rd team. At least maybe I'll go through the entire Big East and see if they have to do that. But that's kind of crazy that they have to go through that gauntlet. But yeah, hey, Georgetown, look, they're 13-8. It's like one of those things where at least they're taking positive strides. And like John Walker brought it up last Wednesday when we had him, where, the bottom of the Big East is a little bit higher. Like the floor has raised a little bit in the bottom of the Big East. That's not saying a lot because the bottom of the Big East was in hell. But
the bottom of the Big East, I don't see. I know he said that, and I disagreed with him. The bottom of the Big East, the 2 teams at the bottom are 2-17.
Yeah.
If the bottom of the Big East was better, this league would have more than 4 teams that are going to be in the NCAA tournament.
Good point.
Now, the possible 5th one is Xavier, and they're outside of the mix. Like Creighton has turned their season around, but they still have a trip to St. John's. They still have the 2 with the Muskies, who will play a frantic pace tonight and just out of pure desperation because they need this win on their resume, and it would be a huge win on their resume. But you still got UConn at home. Let's see, Creighton goes to Villanova on Saturday. They can't use the Big East to help them because if just off the top of my head, if I'm looking at this conference, is Marquette the only team that is going to be better than a 6 seed? Because I tell you right now, I think there's not much separation in terms of what I would put as a seed on January 29th between UConn and Creighton.
So
now UConn's got a chance to be different when McNeely comes back.
So St. John's yesterday, when watching, they were doing where's the Big East in terms of seeds. They were a 6 seed on the projected brackets, and that's because they had a weak non-con. But they're currently ranked 15th in the country. Now, they still have to go. They still got to play Marquette and UConn on the road. So if they're able to win those games, then I think, yeah, they would be a 4 seed. Marquette nearly didn't beat Butler yesterday. That was a really scary game for them. Thank goodness for their sake that Stevie Mitchell stepped up, even though that Cam Jones was in major foul trouble.
Appreciate winning on the road. Quietly, Marquette has just been doing Marquette things, but it hasn't been like, you're right. They're not blowing people out, but they're finding ways to win.
They are.
And they maybe have the best trio of players in the Big East.
But UConn, I mean, they're 25 right now. They very well could end up not being a top 6 seed, but they also, I mean, they're going to go through the gauntlet after they play DePaul tonight. They're going to end up playing Marquette on Saturday. Next Friday, they'll play St. John's, and then they'll play Creighton that following Tuesday. And so once again, like the Big East, it just seems like these schedules, like they just stack up like real quick, where you're going from 0 to 100 real quick, where you're playing Butler, Xavier, DePaul, two of those teams toward the bottom of the Big East, and then all of a sudden you got to ramp up and play literally 1, 2, and 3, in 10 days. But right now, Marquette would be a top 6 seed, and we'll see what the committee does in terms of St. John's. They're ranked 15th, so in theory they would be a 4 seed. In theory, but they were ranked as of yesterday before they kicked the brakes off of Georgetown. They were ranked a 6 seed.
No, I wouldn't. I don't even look at the rankings if I'm thinking about where teams are going to be seated.
Yeah, I can look at bracket matrix right now. But look, Big East is a 4-bid league right now with Creighton, St. John's, Marquette, and UConn. But this is, and you kind of mentioned it, this is like, if you're Xavier, this is your time. You're sitting there being like, guys, this is the win. They're going to come out firing. They're going to be like, look, if we can pick up this quad 1 road win, then we'll have beaten 3 of the top 4 teams in the Big East at this point. We'll be on the right direction in terms of right now. So they were projected as first 4 out yesterday. Yep. If they were to win this game, they would probably be first 4 in, or right on the bubble of being first 4 in, and then would have to play the rest of the Big East schedule down the stretch. It'll be interesting to see just overall how many teams the Big East ends up getting, and
I think it's 5. I think it's 5 max, and the potential 5th one is playing tonight in Omaha, Nebraska.
Do you think they have a cap? You think they're like, nah, we wouldn't let more than 4 teams, or it's a maybe that's a dumb question, but it just seems like last year when you go from a 3-bid league to a 5-bid league, I mean, that's a pretty big jump from year to year. I mean, especially for an 11-team league, when you're going from 3 to 5, when you're going from,
it'd be the same. So you have the core 3, UConn, Marquette, Creighton, and St. John's has shown up this year.
They have taken a massive step. And see, I mean, but it's a tough game for Creighton just because there's so much stakes. There's so much stakes. And you just cannot you cannot get caught looking ahead if you're Creighton to the gauntlet that you're going to have to go through fairly soon.
Yep. All right, we'll take a quick break. We'll come back again. That game is downtown tonight. Omaha's on the road at South Dakota. That'll be over on 1180. Of course, Creighton is on 1620. Plus, we'll have a chance for you later to win $100. John Walker, Brandon Vogel, stop by. Gary and Matt at 1620 The Zone.
Underdog is the best place to cash in on all your takes during the playoffs. Which players are going off and which ones are ice cold. With over 5 million happy players, including me. Get $2 million. One Underdog makes it fun and easy to cash in on all your favorite athletes' performances. With their pick and game, you can win up to 1,000 times your money just by choosing higher or lower on player stats and whatnot. They got all your favorite leagues, teams, and stars to choose from. And Underdog is the only picking platform that puts the power to cash out in your hands. Now you can either keep writing with your entry or tap the win now button to cash out whenever you want. This week in Underdog, you've heard it all throughout the first hour of the show. I'm looking at college basketball, and that is plenty for me to continue to crank up the bank account in anticipation of next Sunday. Anyway, Underdog is the best place to play Pick'em. Download the app, sign up with promo code ZONE right now, deposit now to get up to $1,000 bonus cash instantly. That's promo code ZONE. This must be 19 plus in Nebraska, President State where Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms apply. Concerned with your play. Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Visit ncpgambling.org.
All right, welcome back in. It is a ball day on a hump day on 1620 The Zone. There's Matt. There's Jimmy. I'm Gary. I'll be in Vermilion, South Dakota tonight. Thank you.
Heck yeah. Any good steakhouses out there in Vermilion?
They have one steakhouse, but they only have I've been told like 10 seats.
Really? Okay. That's
So for
okay.
some reason it's like a special steakhouse and they only serve like 2 types of steak.
Is it like the French Laundry of Vermilion?
Not that I've thought about that. Let me put some more thought into that. I don't spend a lot of time in Vermilion. This is like the day
Not a
trip.
red light district.
I was about to say, Garrett, you and like 99% of the world don't spend a lot of time. Not even 99.9% of the world don't spend a lot of time in Vermilion.
There is a song called Vermilion.
Don't say that like it's Chicago. Like, well, I probably should spend a little bit more time out there, but I really don't. It's Vermilion. Nobody spends time out there.
They
Not
have
to get on the folks back in South Dakota. We love you. If you listen to the show, thank you for listening to Gary and Matt at 1620 The Zone.
It's Matt at
No,
1620
I'm not
thezone.com.
trying to offend you. Not trying to offend you or anything like that. You just, that's just a state that not a lot of people travel to.
You're saying we should just give them to Canada.
No,
Both Dakotas.
no,
Just cut 'em
Jimmy.
right-
No,
Nebraska's going to be the border.
Not. Absolutely not. No, don't try to put me in a corner.
I'm just
all
guessing.
right? I'm not baby and this ain't dirty dancing.
Okay,
Okay.
hold on here. So there's this new thing going where in Iowa they're trying to acquire Minnesota counties.
Yes. Okay.
Like, so you would be vehemently opposed if Governor Pillen said, we'd like to acquire, I think it's like Sioux Falls, I think it's Minnehaha County. I'm not sure. I don't know the counties well enough in South Dakota, but I like Sioux Falls. Like, I'm a big fan of Sioux Falls. So you would be vehemently opposed of Nebraska taking over part of South Dakota. They get to drive 80 on the interstate.
I would need to go as a scouting director there.
That's
and
fair.
Really see what, because honestly,
They got
think
Mount
that
Rushmore. They got Sturgis. They got the Badlands. They got the Corn Palace.
I want to see high school
Wall
football out
Drug.
there. I want a
There's
high school
snow.
football out there. If there's some high school football athletes out there, then gladly let's add them. Let's put them in the in-state pipeline. Let's try and get these get the new generation of South Dakotans to be Husker fans, so we can attack that state. Look, if Nebraska can't go to other states and get recruits, we can buy those states, make Nebraska bigger, and so that way we have a bigger in-state pipeline. How about that?
Might be a little bit too soon. Nebraska lost a really good offensive lineman from Sioux Falls the other day to Iowa.
A
little too soon.
I'm telling you right now, we should buy South Dakota so we can
NRG?
we can make an in-state pipeline. That's what we should do. I'm telling you, it's genius. It's genius. Let's buy Southern Illinois, because Southern Illinois doesn't want to be a part of Illinois anyway. So let's just grab all of Southern Illinois, and then maybe we buy like a little bridge. We buy a bunch of counties in Iowa that connect it. So we just make Nebraska a super state.
I've been to Carbondale. I would be vehemently opposed to that.
But what if we can make the next generation of East St. Louis high school football players Husker fans because they're technically Nebraskans?
Okay. Random Mike to respond to Random Matt here in just a moment. I got a question for you. So this is going to lead into my streaming comment. What is your go-to score app on your phone?
Great question. CBS Sports app. Okay.
Okay.
Do you want me to go into detail? I'm very passionate about this.
No. Okay. So, but I've changed my allegiance.
Oh.
For the longest time, just the simple score app has been my go-to.
Yeah.
I don't know if people know this, and maybe I'm late to the party, which I usually am, is the Apple Sports app is money.
Really?
Yes. So this is my dream after watching a lot of basketball, even more so over the last 2 nights, is we need to figure out something. I'm okay with streaming. It's a new world. People got to make some bucks. So we got to watch games on stream. Okay. And not just my regular, TV. And we can't always have the quad box. But there are some times where you're on Peacock and there's a close game that is somewhere else. I want to develop an app where you watch games that are streaming, but it's easier to flip from one game to another. Flip from one network to another.
Oh, well, I think
we have to get ahead of the curve because, Netflix is going to jump into live sports And so we got to be able to go from Peacock to Netflix quickly if a game is like right at the end.
So here's my biggest problem. I love that from you because I'm on YouTube TV. And so if I have a quad box, I love how if it's a close game, I can use the remote and I can go to one of the quadrants and press on it, and then it'll be the full screen. That's really nice. I, unfortunately, couldn't watch the Minnesota-Michigan State game because it was on Peacock, and I was not willing to give up 4 games on YouTube TV in order just to put on one game with Peacock, Michigan State versus Minnesota. So I agree. If we could have if I could cross stream here, if we can cross the streams and I'm able to
They tell you never to do that, by the way.
I know they say never to do that. But if I could log into my Peacock, if I could log into the cock using from YouTube and I could get to the cock from YouTube, that'd be really nice. So I could have 3 YouTube TV screens and one Peacock screen right on the bottom right. And then maybe if I want to get to ESPN Plus, I can log into my ESPN Plus from my YouTube TV. And so that way I got a mixture. I got a mixture of ESPN Plus, Peacock, YouTube TV, and I'm all logging it in. Maybe we need just one centralized. I would pay like $9 a month.
A whole $9.
I would pay $9 a month
for somebody that spends money like,
not true.
Not Jerry Jones.
If I could, I would. If I could spend like $9 a month on a streaming app that allows me to cross the streams of my other streaming apps, wouldn't that be worth it? Wouldn't you buy that?
Yeah,
for $9.99.
You're $9.99. Add another 9 somewhere in there.
Really? You think it would be that much to cross the streams?
Because people would buy it.
Hey, for you who have now told everybody how many different, from Hulu to Netflix to ESPN Plus to Peacock to YouTube TV.
Summit League Plus. Don't forget.
Regular Scrooge McDuck here.
I have Summit League
and
Plus.
Summit League Plus, which I think tonight's Omaha game is on, but the guy on the radio will sound a lot better. You're telling me that you would balk at $99.99? Oh,
he'd
kids
buy it.
today.
Come on.
Man, to cross the streams would be so valuable. And if I could open it up on different TVs too, like if there's not a screen limit where I can get like unlimited screens to cross the streams, that'd be great.
You could split it with your bedmate.
That'd be great. Hey, I'll tell you this right now. I love the CBS Sports app because I get not only with the CBS Sports app, do you get you get the matchups and the times and everything like that. And then you get the game tracker and you can see like the stats and the box scores, but you also get the spreads of the game. You get the over under of the game, and it tells you what channel in the top right the game will be on. So if someone's like, oh, what's a DePaul UConn on today? I'll be like, oh, let me look at my app. And I'm like, oh, it's on Peacock. And then Xavier Creighton is on FS1. And then Rutgers versus Northwestern's on the Big Ten Network. And it's all looking at my CBS Sports app right there.
Let's go to Random Mike.
I think he's out on the apps.
He doesn't want to cross the streams.
Mike, please call back.
So wrong about crossing the streams.
They tell you. Did you not watch Ghostbusters?
I did watch Ghostbusters.
Do not cross the streams. Did you ever not hang out with a buddy at night? Do not cross the streams.
Oh,
it
was actually the opposite.
I'm just telling you, that's a life lesson they teach you early is don't ever cross the streams. Like if you're trying to take down a ghost and rescue Sigourney Weaver, do not cross the streams.
There is no Dana, only Zool.
Gargoyle. The Gargoyles came out. They Stay Puft Marshmallow Man. I didn't know what the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man was until Ghostbusters.
I mean, most people didn't.
Yeah, it wasn't like something that
it wasn't like a popular pop culture, right?
No, he didn't lose to Nixon in the election.
Who would be the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man of this century? If they were to do like another Ghostbusters, if Ghostbusters, let's
Charlie
say
Weiss,
we didn't know. No,
I would
that's
run.
a good one. We let's say Ghostbusters was never created back then, and we created it now, and it was this whole new idea, and it was like as big of a hit as it is today as it was then. What would be the new Stay Puft Marshmallow Man? Like, would it be Tony the Tiger? You know,
no,
like
Tony the Tiger. Tony the Tiger is, I think, in a Hall of Fame somewhere.
Yeah.
Like, are you saying that like jokingly, or is he an actual Hall of Famer in something?
Tony the Tiger, we have to protect him at all costs.
He's one of the goats, but he's a tiger.
What would be the new Stay Puft Marshmallow Man? First came to mind was Tony the Tiger.
I like mine. Mine's scarier. Trust me.
Or maybe
Used to sit
the
in front of him.
Jamaican cinnamon stick from Fruit Loops. You know, apple and cinnamon, and he was like a Jamaican cinnamon stick.
Fruit Loops. Isn't that Toucan Sam?
No,
Yeah.
okay. Oh, I'm thinking about
Apple Jacks.
Apple Jacks.
There's not a lot of people that think about Apple Jacks.
Exactly. So wouldn't that be like the you just said there's not a lot of people that think of the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man. How funny would it be if they were fighting crime, and then all of a sudden, like this, century's Dan Aykroyd
He's
was
wondering-
like, I couldn't think of anything else, so I thought of the Jamaican cinnamon stick. From
Is there a
Apple
lovable,
Jacks.
portly fellow that could come chase us down?
Jim says on the YouTube chat, Michelin Tire Man.
Okay.
I feel like that's too. Yeah, that'd probably be it. That wouldn't be bad.
All right.
I know. Weed's a hell of a drug.
No, I'm trying to think of more. I'm trying to think of the Apple Jacks. First of all, I haven't had Apple Jacks since I was probably 7.
Same.
Probably.
So
That's a lot of college.
I have to think about the characters that are in Apple Jacks.
It's just two. It's the apple and it's the jack.
Nichols?
It makes it very simple. It's not confusing at all.
It's Apple and Jack.
Sam takes care of the Fruit Loops. You got 2 guys that run Apple Jacks.
Exactly.
Dale, there's 2 of them. The
And
Rescue
then
Rangers.
you got Tony the Tiger, and then you got like the cannibalistic cinnamon toast crunch people who just eat each other, and then you have just I'm pretty sure Reese's Puffs is that's just a dude, that's just a guy. Reese, peanut
Jeff
butter
Daniels?
chocolate flavor. I'm trying to think of Fred
Jeff
Flintstone
Bridges?
was on the Fruity Pebbles, and then you just
What's
have
the leprechaun?
the leprechaun, and then
got
you have
Snap, Crackle, and
Bee.
Pop.
Snap Crack. Yeah, that's a good one. You have the bee from Honey Nut Cheerios. Does Cheerios have is there just Honey Nut?
Yes, it's Buzz. It's Buzz the Bee.
Buzz the Bee.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Worked for them forever.
It could possibly be Frankenberry.
Do you eat healthy cereal now? You eat healthy cereal? Like you like Raisin Bran?
Not really.
Raisin Bran has a lot of sugar.
I eat more granola than regular cereal.
Like, are you an overnight oats person? You would be an overnight oats person.
I'm not really sure what overnight oats are. Do I get
Oh,
them?
thank God. It's okay. It's okay.
I know. I don't think he knows.
It's this little trendy thing that every fitness influencer that thinks they're, so great does. They're like, I have my overnight oats. I'm so healthy. I do nothing but focus on my body for 7 hours a day and run my own personal fitness online training thing. Look at me. I'm so special. Get ready with me.
I suddenly have a hankering to watch The Hangover.
Get ready with me when I work 5 hours a day because I don't have a real 9-to-5 job. So all I get to do is look hot on camera. Get ready with me in my overnight oats.
The answer to your question is no. Evan says, what about the My Pillow guy?
That's a good one.
Oh, he's back in a big way, I'm sure.
That's a good one.
Yeah, but he's still got all of his legal stuff that's going on.
Well, if we're going down that route, I mean, maybe just Jared from Subway would probably be a really good antagonist in the new.
Nah, I think he's being recognized in prison.
Yeah, probably.
When we come back, speaking of antagonizing, Michigan's going to respond and fight the NCAA cheating scandal.
Yeah, I read that. Crazy article.
I'm ready to move on. Ohio State, Michigan got a title. I'm good. But Mark Whipple is not good. Mark Whipple and his offense got crushed yesterday in the discovery of the NCAA in Michigan that we'll get into when we come back. It's Gary and Matt with Jimmy on 1620 The Zone.
Listen every morning to our show for a chance to win $100 just like yesterday. All you have to do is call in and correctly guess what game the audio is from. It's going to start getting harder. More details online at 1620thezone.com.
And we'll do that coming up a little bit later in the show. John Walker from the Omaha World Herald. We'll talk about tonight's game between the Jays and the Musketeers downtown. They'll join us at 9. Brandon Vogel stops by at 9:40 here on Gary and Matt. So yesterday, Michigan responded to the NCAA, and they're getting ready to fight. They said it's overreaching and overcharging in the cheating scandal. I'm personally over it, ready to move on. I'm like, you know what? Harbaugh's in the NFL. Michigan got the title. Ohio State got the title. I'm moving on to other things. I know some people are not because they want a piece of flesh from Michigan. Matt Rule is not moving on. Brett Bielema, did you see him?
Yeah,
that's why
I saw that.
On Twitter. We're still on Twitter because Bielema got on and he absolutely murdered Jim Harbaugh yesterday.
Killed him. I love the pettiness too of reaching back and grabbing a quote from before Harbaugh was even at Michigan. Like the fact that he had to go that deep in the archive. Like I wonder how long the people at Illinois were sitting on that clip. You know, I wonder how long, like, they were like, all right, we got this loaded in the chamber. Like, we're ready to go. Like, how long do you think that tweet was in his drafts for? I mean, that was incredible. I mean, impeccable.
Hey, it's, you know what? And so here's the thing. I miss the Big Ten West when it comes to pettiness of coaches.
Absolutely.
Rules saved his Feinbaum stuff. Bielema saved his Harbaugh stuff.
Yeah.
I Big Ten West coaches love to keep receipts.
I love people who just love to keep receipts, period. Even when they keep receipts on me, I love it. I love it. I love the back and forth. I just like, you know, I'm not a fist fight guy, but I love very like low stakes confrontation, you know, like at the end of the day, who really cares that Bielema tweeted that out about Harbaugh? Harbaugh's in LA. He's at the Chargers. He's trying to win a Super Bowl. He won his national championship that you can't take. That's the one thing. You can't take away the national championship that Michigan won because they, without a doubt, did not do it with any sign stealing or anything like that. They won that national championship and beat the teams they needed to beat because they were just better than them. And they had a really good constructed roster, and they had a very good game plan, and they knew exactly what they were doing, and they had good coaches around them. Now, while all that said, I want my pound of flesh from Michigan, and I'm not over it. And it has nothing to do with, like, Harbaugh or that me not wanting them to have a national championship or anything like that, or me wanting them to get banned from the playoff. I just hate how like Connor Stallions has been painted as this like hero or as this martyr or as this like they did that Netflix documentary about him that made him out to be like this. Oh my God, he did it for his mother. And he's actually like a genius sign stealer who's such a super hard worker who does this. No. He got caught going to the games. He recorded them doing the sign stealing on the sideline. He brought it back. You know, he put it on a sheet, and then he helped them win. And then, like, you think, and oh my God, my favorite excuse. Okay, so this article that came out from Yahoo Sports that basically was the spark note of Michigan's defense.
It was the spark of Sharon Moore deleting text between him and Connor Stallions.
Oh my Lord.
Except the one about Nebraska.
Sharon Moore goes, well, yeah, I deleted those 52 text messages that I sent to Connor Stallions because I was just so frustrated with the whole situation that I just wanted to get it off my mind. Yeah, you deleted potentially damning evidence over a massive investigation that could ruin your career. You deleted those text messages because you were so mad that it wasn't about the players anymore. Shut your mouth, all right? Like, no. You deleted those text messages because there were things in there that needed to be said. Some of these defenses, like here's I got some quotes here. The school purports that the sign stealing system offered minimal relevance to competition, was not credibly proven by NCAA investigators, and should be treated as a minor violation. Michigan, and then there's a different one. Michigan and Moore acknowledged the deleted messages. However, the school contends the texts were innocuous and not material to the investigation, and that Moore cooperated fully with the investigation, even turning over his phone for imaging. Hey, When did being done what you're told when you're caught in a bad situation become like this great thing? Oh, he cooperated with investigation. You're supposed to. That's the standard. That's the bare minimum. You're supposed to, when you get caught for doing bad things, you're supposed to say, yes, here are the things that you're trying to investigate. What do you mean? Why is that a point of contention? He cooperated. Yeah, you're supposed to.
So
it was an embarrassing article. And it's an
but
embarrassing.
I'm over it. I don't really care anymore about this. But I care because I was curious. So one of the texts that was mentioned in November of 2022, Stallion suggests to Moore that Michigan should change its signals ahead of the Ohio State game. Moore responded that he'll think about it. And Stallions responds that Nebraska is screwed, a reference to the fact he could easily decipher the Husker signals ahead of the Wolverine game against them that very week. Michigan won the game 34-3. That, by the way, was Mark Whipple's offense. But Moore told university officials that Nebraska used wristbands, so there were no signals to steal.
So I was going to ask you. I was there. I was reporting on that team at the time. Did they use wristbands? I don't remember. I'm not really paying attention to this.
So they signaled in. Remember, because we weren't in helmet communication, which was the result of this thing. They signaled in plays, and then you looked at your wristband.
Yeah, that's still signaling.
Yes,
it's still very much signaling. Okay.
I mean, Stallions. Hey, Stallions. It was a job to steal signs. He went and did it.
Look, if you want to be over it,
That's
you
called
can be
initiative.
Over it. I just don't like how this guy has been propped up to now be like a college football figure, and now has opinions and is working with other people. And I did not watch the Netflix documentary. I watched a trailer. I watched a 4-minute preview, and I go, absolutely not. I am not going to let this cloud my mind and I'm not going to watch an hour.
That's surprising. I thought you watched everything.
This absolute hack of Connor Stallions be told to me that he's some super genius, hardworking dude. He's a hack, and he was cheating, and they let him do it. And when you go, well, it had minimal consequences on the games. It still affected the games. It still gave you an unfair advantage that written in the rule book that you're not allowed to do that no one else has. And so therefore it's illegal. And so it does not matter. And games come down to razor thin margins. And minimal can snowball into big things.
So has Gus Johnson chimed in on this? Because remember his comment. And since the cheating stuff, they're 2-0 in this rivalry. Remember what Gus Johnson said?
What did Gus Johnson?
He didn't cheat this time. When Sharon Moore, after they beat him, as the game's in the last minute, he walks over behind the Michigan bench and is waving to the Ohio State fans. Do you think this? So Michigan's going to fight this, but if the NCAA said get rid of Sharon Moore, do you think they would, or do you think they would stand up for him?
Ooh. It depends on what the punishment is. If it's like
the replacement is.
It's like, hey, you can't make the college football playoff for 3 years, or you got to fire your coach. It's a tough situation to be in.
Or does he turn on Harbaugh and he goes, "Hey, man, I know I was set up to be the fall guy, but I was just doing what I was told."
Would you blame, if you were Harbaugh? Would you blame him if he turned on him?
Would I blame Sharon Moore?
Would you be mad at Sharon Moore if he was
I would be taken aback because Harbaugh has dug in. He's like, we're going to fight this. So the guy that got your job when you left and you handed him a Michigan job, and he turns on you. I don't know. Then you'd have to, if you're a Michigan fan, you would choose Harbaugh over Moore. You'd be like, oh yeah, I got to get rid of Moore. Moore's lying. Harbaugh's the guy.
Sure, that's a great point. But then you would also have people being like, hey, for 6 games, Harbaugh wasn't even on the sidelines, and Moore was the head coach. And he's the one who, was he the one making the main game plan? Maybe, maybe not. But he was the one who was leading them on the sidelines. So, it's a back and forth. It's a whole messed up situation because of the hack that's Connor Stallions.
So would you delete text from someone because you're mad at them?
No, I've never deleted text in my entire life. Never deleted text, ever.
Easier to hold grudges when you have the text right there.
It's.
I like that you're a receipt guy. I like this because the Monday after the Super Bowl, my drafts are all filled up.
No, absolutely. I keep. I mean, even like to prove, even if to just prove points in general. Like I can go back in I like using the search bar in my text messages to be like, oh, okay, I remember when I said that to
He's gonna be good at marriage.
This person said this to me, and so I'll type it in or remember. Or it's like if I don't remember my friend's address, the amount of times or I'm going to their house and I don't remember the address, I have to look up like send me your address, and then I have to scroll down into like, okay, which one? There it is, and then I find it because I'm too embarrassed to keep asking for it. Like that's another one too. I keep all my texts ready, willing, and ready to go. I got text all the way from like 2021 on my phone.
Ooh, that
Okay,
guy's sick.
so this whole Sharon, oh, I was just so pissed at him that I deleted the text messages. Well, Connor Stallion, like it's only if he's got an Apple, it only goes one way, Gary. Right? If I delete my text messages from you still have those text messages. So coincidence that correspondingly the same 52 text messages are just deleted from both phones?
Mm-hmm.
Careful what you.
Or maybe they're not. Maybe maybe they were to figure out that he didn't. I don't know. How do you even figure out?
I'm good. I've moved on from this. I'm not.
I haven't.
This is. I'm not like. Am I getting riled up about this anymore? No.
I am.
The other thing that this reiterates is that there is no better rivalry in college athletics than the Michigan-Ohio State football rivalry. Nothing touches it in college athletics. Doesn't even come close. ESPN tried to shove North Carolina down my throat this weekend with game day, and the people on ESPN that cover basketball that actually hate the sport and are miserable, like a Seth Greenberg and a Jay Williams.
Yeah.
Duke, North Carolina basketball doesn't even touch Michigan-Ohio State football rivalry.
Hey, this is a legit question. And not currently right now. Bo Sox Yankees, Michigan, Ohio State.
Michigan, Ohio State.
I agree. Totally agree.
I mean, the game, look at still, there are Ohio State fans that are now 10 days into being a national champion. And they think, wow, I still would have liked to beat Michigan. I don't want to lose to Michigan again. I'd give up that national title. Hell, look at here's one thing. And Ryan Day is now like, okay, I got myself a title. There's a clip. So Ryan Day was in New York City. He was on Jimmy Fallon the other night. And he's walking alone on the street in New York City. Now, he might be outside of his hotel and maybe stepped outside to take a phone call. But there's a Michigan fan that comes up to him and takes his phone and he goes, hey, there's Ryan Day. And Ryan Day is nice. I mean, it's probably just those two on a street in New York City.
Sure. And
he says, he said, go Buckeyes or something like that. And this guy's like, we beat you 4 times in a row. And Ryan Day smiles and makes some comment and then, walks into the hotel. And I'm like, okay, cool on Ryan Day. Because he could have been like a jerk, but he turned it into a little bit of like a recruiting. But nobody else does that.
No, absolutely not. Nowhere across the sports in general. Yeah. Absolutely. Hey, you're heading out to Vermillion, South Dakota. Good luck to your Mavs tonight. On the call, 1180, right?
We're on 1180. We'll be on at 6:30. Hopefully by 9:30, we'll be kicking trash cans in Vermillion.
Mavs looking to go 8-0, extending their historic Summit League beginning of the season record. Also trying to go 10-0, 10 wins in a row. That would also be a record. It'll be me and Jimmy the rest of the way. Talking NFL quarterbacks. 2 rookies have made the Pro Bowl. The curious case of Fred Hoiberg. We got a lot of ball. We got a good show for the next 2 hours here on Gary Matt on 1620 The Zone. Keeping it rolling here on 1620 The Zone. You're listening to Gary and Matt. Gary, who was here for the first 2 hours. That was a great first 2 hours of radio.
I
That
enjoyed
was
it.
Fun.
Yeah.
College basketball. Man, I'm telling you right now, with college basketball right now, with the NBA in this weird transition
I smell what you're
period,
cooking.
with Kevin Durant's getting old, LeBron's getting old, Steph Curry's getting old. Then you have these kind of middling stars with Paul George and Joel Embiid who just are unlikable in the fact that they just cannot play basketball and they say the wrong things, and everyone's got their own podcast, and it just seems like the NBA just has a likability problem right now. And then on top of that, you have your new superstars coming up in the rank with Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, and he's not getting enough publicity.
It's because he plays in Oklahoma.
Because he plays in
played
Oklahoma.
in a big market or any decent market, more people would know about
The Cleveland Cavaliers are halfway through the season. They haven't even lost 10 games yet. And
him.
we're not
Nobody
talking
knows
about that. Nobody knows
People
that.
think they're terrible. and
We're
they're not.
way too focused on markets. We're way too focused on superstars. And like the NBA and just the media people in general have done a terrible job of marketing the next generation. And so now you're sitting here and you're being like, there's a reason why the ratings are as low as they are. People don't want to watch that anymore, but people want to watch sports. So what do? They turn on ESPN and they start watching college basketball. And
They see a guy puke on the baseline, and you're like, you know what? Why did he puke? Let me watch.
Well, another thing too is like it's less to do about the likability of college basketball players, because truth be told, college basketball players are very sheltered in what they're allowed to reveal.
But the game is more likable
But
because they actually go inside, except for who'd you say last night shot 45 threes?
Oh, Tennessee.
Yeah,
that was
that
an
doesn't count.
awful display.
But-
SEC basketball definitely is a little bit closer to the NBA product because of the athletes on the court. I mean, it's just
and the pay.
faster. Yeah, that's true. It's just a faster game.
But I'm with you, Matt. Yeah. You've been talking for the past month about the college game, and I got to thinking about it. I was like, you know what? I'm Team Matt here.
It's rising. There are more and more people. Like
NIL helps it.
What helps it?
NIL, it helps
Absolutely.
it. Keeps good dudes in.
But the game itself, like the quality of play, obviously the quality of play is higher in the NBA.
Right.
There are better shooters, there are better passers, there are better dribblers, there's better athletes, there's better everything.
But you still get good basketball.
Well, with college basketball, it's still a system. It's still basketball. There's still sets. There's still movement. There's still strategy. Strategy has kind of fallen at the wayside of the NBA. You don't see nearly as many intricate sets in that style of play than you do in college basketball, which people watch college basketball and they call that a beautiful game where you have it in the corner, you throw it to the post, then you fake to the baseline. You know, the off-ball guy fakes to the baseline, then he goes up to the wing, guy dribble handoff, 3-point, like that's beautiful. You run a whole set on one side of the court, then you have the weak side action come through, and then all of a sudden you hit him on a beautiful cut, it goes up for a layup, right? Then the other team has to adjust. In the NBA, it's rebound, run, layup, rebound, run, 3-pointer, layup, run, high ball screen, go downhill,
2-on-1.
Defense.
Let's shoot a 3.
It's just it's not as flow. And now, don't get me wrong, there's still running sets and there's still intricate things happening in the NBA, but you will go on these long spurts. As a whole, you'll go on these long spurts where it's just not as great of a basketball product to watch.
This is why the 2014 Spurs were basketball porn.
Exactly.
Because they move the ball.
And now the NBA
Warriors were predicated off those Spurs.
The NBA is going to be the NBA, and I don't think they're going to change that style of play. What they really have, and don't get me wrong, I like the NBA. I like watching the NBA. But what their issue is that you just have a likability problem, and there aren't enough players where you're like, oh my God, I love them and I want to watch them.
It's hard to defend the league right now.
And another thing too, a lot of those players who you're like, God, I love them, I want to watch them, they're 36, they're 37, they're 40 years old. I mean, it's they have an issue and they got to figure it out, and they have to get out of their butts with this whole they've always had this obsession with the big markets and everything like that, and I get it. But man, if I'm a Cleveland Cavalier fan,
you're missing out on great teams.
Oklahoma City fan, I'm sitting here thinking, like, even the Houston Rockets are going on a really good run, and that's a really big market. But even I feel like they don't get enough publicity or credit or anything.
New York, LA, Boston, Philly, we've gone back in time about 50 years.
I'm telling you right now, I look forward to Tuesdays now in just sports, because I know that I can sit down and there's going to be 10 to 12 high quality college basketball games on.
When do our Cats play?
Our Cats play tonight, 8 o'clock. Against Rutgers, big game.
I'm telling you, I've adopted them because of you.
Gonna need it. Gonna need that game big time. But I will say this, so let's go from one pro league to another. Go from the NBA to the NFL. Like the NFL, I feel like in this cycle has done an incredible job of keeping their relevance afloat while you're in this dead period of you only have one football game left, right? You're going through all this drama with the head coaches and 4 coaches get introduced all at once. And we're still talking about Liam Cohen making himself look like a doofus on the mic. This is a weirdo.
Duval.
Then we're talking about, dude, you don't like
Duval.
So Gary's brought it up that he thinks
Duval.
that, he'd be shocked if the NFL were to continue to let Tom Brady be in the booth, despite the fact he is the one clearly pushing the buttons over in Vegas. I think the NFL are obviously going to let him keep him in the booth because
he's Tom Brady.
He's Tom Brady. He's got his face on TV all the time, and he's the owner of the Raiders. And that isn't it so interesting to be like, yeah, that guy is making decisions, actively making decisions about a team in the NFL. Yet he's announcing about other teams in the NFL and relaying his opinions about those teams.
Now just get Jerry Jones in the booth.
Some of which are
smart guy, not smart guy.
Yeah.
When it comes to football.
But you got Tom Brady at the front, and the Raiders have made themselves incredibly relevant, hiring a guy. I was so impressed with John Spytek during his press conference with Pete Carroll. That was super impressive.
Was he 73? Youngest 73-year-old
He looks
ever?
great.
Yeah, he's
He looks
in better
great.
health
He's
than we are.
Got a ton of energy. I know. He probably works out more than I do. I like your guy. I like Shoddy.
Are you just trying to be my friend?
No,
you trying to make me feel better?
I'm not trying to be your friend.
I already like you.
I am telling you right now, he was impressive. He was confident, and he was willing to admit, he's like, look,
I'm listening.
I disagree with people. I disagree with Mike McCarthy. And it was I like a coach that very much is like, hey, this is my team now. Because you got to have that confidence, that chutzpah. You're dealing with grown men, and you got to be willing. You got to give a little, right? I mean, I think Nick Saban had talked about it. He's been doing all these podcasts about his time in Miami. You got to give a little when you're being a head coach in the NFL. But you also got to lay down the law. You got to draw the line in the sand. You got to hold people accountable. And I don't think there's anything more. I mean, NFL players don't want to be coddled. NFL players don't want to be tapped on the head all the time. NFL players don't always want to be.
No, they're grown-ass men.
They're grown-ass men. And if a grown-ass man is not doing a good job, and I'm speaking from, if I'm not doing a good job, right, or if you're not doing a good job, or if anyone's not doing a good job, and this is not just men, this is women, this is just people in general. If you're not doing a good job, there are people who want to be held accountable and be told, hey, you're not doing a good job. So you know you're not doing a good job, so you do a good job. I worry with that with Cohen, where he just seems like he's a little bit, yeah.
Let's score points.
Exactly. Like he's a little too fun.
Let's stop
But
them.
you can't be a hard ass like Matt Patricia, who's telling everybody that they suck and everybody that this organization is terrible and we're going to do it my way.
I worked for a boss like that once.
Same thing with that was a problem with Brian Flores. Tua Tagovailoa talked about it. Like how would you feel if every single day you were told how bad you were and how terrible you were? You got to give a little, get a little, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now,
watch Liam Cohen becomes the next Hallis.
I love though what the NFL did yesterday. Okay. And this one was a little bit under the radar. Okay. So we talk about the NBA and their issue with not promoting young stars, with their inability. It just seems like Adam Silver is holding on to dear life to the Curry, LeBron, Durant era. And he's not laying down the law enough with all of these other superstars who are making themselves out to be doofuses that nobody wants to watch anymore because they're just absolutely unlikable. Your Kawhis, your Joel Embiids, so on and so forth. Yesterday, a certain quarterback in the AFC was named to the Pro Bowl. His name was Drake May. Okay. Drake May was named an alternate to the Pro Bowl. He will be in Orlando, Florida. He is, they haven't marked it down on his stat reference, but he is going to be a Pro Bowler in his first year playing in the NFL. Okay. It'll be the first time since 2012. Jimmy, can you name me the 3 quarterbacks in 2012 that were named to the Pro Bowls
Andrew Luck.
that were rookies?
Andrew Luck was one. Let's see, 11. Oh, Cam wasn't rookie in 12.
No.
Cam was a rookie year before. Oh, that's going to get me. I know. I remember Andrew Luck because I remember seeing him in person at Arrowhead against the Chiefs in December. It was a losing team. Oh, it was great. The Chiefs were so bad. Those were the days. It was great. It really was.
You're
gonna have to give me the other two.
You got
Give me
another first-round pick, and you got a mid-round pick in that draft.
And I'm trying to do this without going.
No, I know.
I'm trying to do
I'll give
this
you 5
the
seconds.
old-fashioned way.
5, 4, 3, 2. You're going to kick yourself. It's Robert Griffin III and Russell Wilson. That was the last time that multiple rookie quarterbacks got named.
It was such a long time ago.
To the Pro Bowl. Okay, and then actually, the year before that was 2011. Andy Dalton and Cam Newton got named to the Pro Bowl.
And I remember Andy, obviously Cam.
Drake May probably shouldn't be in the Pro Bowl. Drake May's stats this year. He played 13 games, which you could argue in itself.
And he plays for the Patriots. People
2,200 yards, 15 touchdowns, 10 interceptions. Now, he did that's all passing. He did do a lot on his feet. But I absolutely love the play from the NFL, even if it's warranted or not warranted, that now you have, hey, look at the future. We got 2 quarterbacks in Jaden Daniels, and we have 2 quarterbacks in Jaden Daniels and Drake May, who in their rookie season are Pro Bowlers.
Mm-hmm.
And so even if you don't know, even if you're just a casual NFL fan, if you're not really in the weeds,
you end up knowing
really
who these guys are.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And you're like, look at and Drake May is a stallion. Drake May is every single bit of an athlete. I mean, he is every bit of 6'4", 225, who can move. I mean, he looked like Josh Allen in a lot of instances when he was playing with, and I'll tell you this right now, like, there is a bit, like, I'm not worried about Caleb Williams being my quarterback whatsoever. But what I thought was more impressive, now what Jaden Daniels did was absolutely impressive. Absolutely, without a doubt, super, super impressive. And what I think is also near that level, not at that level, going to the NFC Championship game, being 1 game away, 1 win away from making it to the Super Bowl, that is as high as it gets. He had
blowing out the Lions on the road.
He had the greatest quarterback rookie season ever. Okay, like that is he is the gold standard now of what rookie quarterbacks are going to look like in the NFL and the pedestal in which everyone will be raised to if you're drafted number 1 or number 2. But what Drake May did in New England, playing in the manner in which he did, looking in the way in which he did, that earned himself a spot at the Pro Bowl with the terrible roster that he had. I mean, he had he had no one to throw to.
They were a very bad team.
They were a very bad team.
This is why I love the Vrabel hire and what they're doing.
I mean, how can you not like the Vrabel hire? I'm going to tell you something right now. There's going to be
You've convinced me that watch out for the Patriots in the next couple of years coming back.
Mike Vrabel being fired from the Tennessee Titans was a mistake. No, I'm not.
Blessing for him.
Yes. Blessing for him, because they are in no man's land.
That's a good coach.
They're in absolute hell. And unfortunately, they've been granted the first overall pick in a draft where Cam Ward and Shedeur Sanders, I don't know where they go last year's draft, but it wouldn't be number 1. Neither of them would be number 1 in last year's draft. Neither of them would have creased would have gotten ahead of Drake May, Jaden Daniels, or Caleb Williams. Right? I wonder if Atlanta had the opportunity. Hey, Atlanta, would you rather have Michael Penix Jr. or would you rather have one of these 2 guys? I wonder what they do.
Because
Penix, people forget. Like, I understand the injury concern with Penix Jr. You know, he had some shoulder issues and all that stuff. But like at the end of the year, he looked like he was the best player in college football.
Shedeur in Atlanta? Wouldn't that be kind of poetic?
Yeah, but would you do that from like a football perspective or a marketing perspective?
It has to be done. First of all, if you're doing it for a marketing perspective, that tells you all you need to know about the organization. That's a red flag. But if you're doing it because you feel like it's going to make you better as a football team, then that's different. Do I think that'll make them better as a football team? No, I think they should just roll with Penix. This is what they did. Yeah. And I think he'll be okay.
I think he looked fine. Yeah. He wasn't terrible. He looked fine.
A couple games at the end of the season. Let's see how he does with a whole camp and everything.
I think Tennessee will end up taking Travis Hunter. I think
that's a good pick. I really do. I feel bad for Travis, but at least Nashville is fun. He can meet up with Hawk Tua.
Because they'll be bad again.
Oh, yeah.
And they'll have a shot at getting Archie Manning.
Person. Yeah.
You know, probably who will more than likely. I mean, we're assuming that Archie Manning is going to be the best quarterback in football. And I think from what we've seen and just the high school tape and everything we've heard from Sark and the people within the Longhorns organization.
Arch Manning and Travis.
That'd be incredible.
I'm looking for a new football team.
That'd be incredible. But I'll tell you something right now. I would sit here and I would tell you that I would much rather have Jaden Daniels than Caleb Williams.
You are or you wouldn't?
I would. Oh,
okay.
Yeah. I wanted it before it even happened. There's a legitimate conversation of whether or not you'd rather have Caleb Williams or whether you'd have Drake May over Caleb Williams.
Yeah.
I think most people would say Drake May. And I think May, definitely has some more work to do. But this was a guy that people thought, man, when you draft him, he's got to sit here. I mean, you had Bill Belichick up in the NFL with Pat McAfee during the NFL draft, crapping on his footwork, telling people, this guy needs a year. He's got a lot of problem. This isn't going to work out in the NFL. You had Dan Orlovsky, who was on ESPN every single day, it seemed like.
Once ran out of the end zone.
Hey, yeah, once very, very infamously did that. But you have him saying, this guy needs good rest. This guy needs to sit. This guy needs to sit. This isn't good. He can't be playing. New England's a terrible position for him. He goes out. He plays 13 games, so he doesn't sit. He sits 4 games for the season, ends up making the Pro Bowl. I mean, I'm telling you right now, the NBA needs to take a look at what the NFL is doing. I mean, by the way, every league needs to take a look at what the NFL is doing. Because the NFL,
50 years.
Let me say, the NFL is just more than the product. The product will always bring the people to the kitchen counter or to the couch in order to watch the game.
But the NFL is a juggernaut.
But the NFL, they know what they're doing. They know how to market. They know how to consolidate, some personalities and not make you think these guys are unlikable and to the point where you don't want to watch the games because you don't want to root for those guys.
Look at what you're saying. I joke. People that don't know me, it's a bit. Yes, I'd love to find a new football team, but it's not in my blood. That's not how I was raised. I really do wish there are teams I'd like to have an affair with overnight, maybe 2 nights. But I mean, if it's really good.
Yeah, a nice
however, when you're to your point, when you mention these teams, maybe not the Titans, but I like what they could do.
Sure,
you're like any one of these teams. I think I could be a fan of them. I could adopt.
Sure.
I could adopt the Patriots. That sounds weird to say.
And everybody gets enough attention to the point where you don't feel like you're singled out.
No. Like, that's a good team. I get it.
Like, look at, if you're a Charlotte Hornets fan in the NBA and you're looking at the Cleveland Cavaliers, you got to be thinking, man.
Why can't that be us?
No, you're thinking we probably got to, is that what we got to do in order to get any sort of attention? Are we going to have to win? We're going to have to go 44-5 for anyone to talk about us?
I mean, that's why you
But
say
the Lakers
why
are
can't it be us?
26-18.
And that's all we hear about.
And they get the A block and the B block and the C block and the D block. Same thing with the Celtics.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure if the Bulls were ever relevant and created themselves a good team, it would be absolutely annoying to see them being talked about over and over and over and over and over again.
It's called my childhood. Of course, I liked the Bulls, so it's different.
I mean, you like Michael Jordan, and Michael Jordan was likable,
and he liked me,
and he was likable, and it was like he was a killer, and he won, and like David Stern did a great job of like protecting him from the sins that he had, in terms of the gambling, in terms of the golfing, and in terms of all of that. Nowadays, it's all put out there. I mean, it's all put out there what these guys are doing, and it's just like you like these guys less and less because they're just given too much leeway. They're just given a little bit too much leeway, and it's hard to,
And the product's not helping either. So
the
it's
product
just
is also it's all just a tumbleweed and everything like that. And I'm sure that they'll figure it out. And don't get me wrong, when the
It's
Super
all
Bowl is
cyclical.
over, I'm going to turn into Association Matt. And I'm going to start watching the
Sound
games
like
all
me.
the time, and I'll listen to the Low Post podcast, and I'll get tuned in, and we'll be all in on the NBA season come March, April, and when the playoffs begin, because playoff basketball is fun, because playoff basketball matters.
I grew up with it. I
but
miss
that's
it.
another problem where they've gone down the road of where the regular season doesn't matter, and they tried to stop it. They tried to aid that with the stupid emeritus NBA Cup.
Yeah, I didn't
Doesn't-
watch
it
a second
doesn't-
of that.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. But I mean, college basketball's on the rise. College football needs to get some rules set in place in order
need
for
a
it to be,
commissioner.
because that's another one that, with everything that's going on, that's another sport where it's athletes and just everything that's happening within that sport is becoming unlikable. And the NFL, they hit it absolutely out of the park, putting Drake
As
May on the
always.
Pro Bowl team. They hit it absolutely out of the park.
And he's replacing Mahomes, right?
Yes.
Okay.
So it's like,
Could go to the Pro Bowl if they'd ever lose.
yeah. It's a good point.
That's what they do. They need to
You think
lose.
it'd be a
We
little
need the
weird?
Chiefs in the
Think
Pro
it'd be a
Bowl.
little weird if like Kelsey and like Mahomes went to the Pro Bowl. They'd be like, we don't know. I don't know what to do with my hands.
Well, it's
you
not
know?
like they're playing a game anymore. Jack
No.
Youngblood, a week after the Super Bowl in 1980, played with a broken leg in the Pro Bowl.
That's funny.
And that was his third game with a broken leg because he broke his leg in the divisional game against Dallas a few weeks earlier.
No, but they've hit it out of the park. They're marketing their superstars. Drake May and Jaden Daniels are on the right trajectory. I mean, they have an opportunity.
But yes, we want to watch them.
We want to watch them. And that draft class, I mean, did everyone perform at a very, very high level? No. But you don't have a Josh Rosen situation where you're looking at these guys and being like, they're out of the league. They can't do it. Michael Penix has a future. Bo Nix has a future. Caleb Williams has a future. J.J. McCarthy's still pending. But Drake May and Jaden Daniels trending to be the next two superstar quarterbacks in the NFL, which, God dang it,
must be nice.
I wish my team would do what the Commanders did and say, screw it, we're going to get great ownership. And how the heck did New England once again get a quarterback that has the potential to be incredible for a very, very long time? Once again, it always starts at the top at everything. We got a good lineup coming up for you. 9 o'clock, John Walker will come in. Big game for the Creighton Blue Jays tonight at the CHI Health Center. They welcome in the Xavier Musketeers. Xavier playing really, really good basketball right now. They are on the bubble of the NCAA tournament. If they were to win tonight at the Chi, man, it would be a massive victory. Probably get themselves into the first four in. Omaha Mavericks on the road. They're going to Vermillion, South Dakota. My partner, Gary Sharp, will be on the call at 1180. What else we got? John Walker at 9, and then we got the always impeccable, too sweet to be sour, the man of the hour, Brandon Vogel, coming on at 9:40.
Please introduce him like that. I'll make him so happy.
Oh, I'll do it again. I've already done it before. Got some Nebraska basketball to talk about, a little bit more NFL, a little bit more of everything. We got a mixed bag coming up next year on Gary and Matt on 1620 The Zone.
Don't miss your chance to win $5,000 with you. Get your, I can't say that word on the air, so we'll just paraphrase and say, get your feces together giveaway. Register online for a chance to win at 1620thezone.com. Matt, where'd you go?
Oh, I'm here.
It's just me on the stream.
Is it just you?
Yeah.
Oh, something went wrong is what it said.
Yeah, get back on there. People want to see you.
Well, we're keeping it rolling here.
But we are on the radio.
We are on the radio. Listen to Gary and Matt here on 1620 The Zone. Gary, our fearless host, is on the road right now to Vermillion, South Dakota, where his Omaha Mavericks are taking on the South Dakota Coyotes. The Mavericks on a historic season. If you've been listening to the show, you know all about it. They've won 7 games in a row in the Summit, looking to win their 8th game in a row in the Summit and their 10th win in a row overall. As a great comment here from no, I know, I saw Dan.
No, I'm saying below the coup.
What's going on here?
The coup has started.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. No.
All right, there he is. All right, we're back.
I gotta fix my camera. I have the wrong camera on here.
And as you should be on the camera, because that hat is damn gorgeous today.
It is damn gorgeous. It's
not a Lions hat for those wondering.
Last year's Chicago Cubs spring training hat is one of my favorite hats. It's one of I credit like Chris Bryant had that one year and then he absolutely fell off the map, but he did a great job of bringing like baby blue back to the Cubs. The Cubs would do baby blue, then they went away from it, and then he started putting it in all of his like accents and everything like that, and then people started getting happy. It's one of my favorite hats by far. It looks better when I have long hair. When I have it all chopped off like this, it doesn't
right, because then you look like the 93 Phillies.
Sal in the chat asks, does Justin Fields still have a future in the NFL? Great question, Sal. I'm shocked that at the end of the season, the Steelers stuck with Russell Wilson just not playing high quality football in the manner in which he was. And they just refused to go back to him. And I don't know if that was they really thought Russ was going to be the guy type deal. I don't know if that was Mike Tomlin not wanting to admit he was wrong in benching Justin Fields after going 4-2. Heck, not a lot of people know this. If Justin Fields ended up playing more than 50% of the snaps this year for the Steelers would have had to send a 4th-round pick to the Bears as opposed to a 6th-round pick to the Bears, which could have been a factor in him not wanting to play Justin Fields for the last 3 years of the season. Funny enough, we didn't really get to it the other day, but like when they had those 4 pressers of all the brand new head coaches, Art Rooney II spoke for the Pittsburgh Steelers and made it very, very apparent we are going with one quarterback. The Steelers are not going to have Russell Wilson and Justin Fields next year. They're going to decide between one or the other. It's going to be a massive offseason story. I think it'll probably be one of the bigger stories that we'll talk about all around the NFL when
Terry
the Super
Bradshaw
Bowl
and
is
Joe
over.
Gilliam.
He even went as far to say, hey, we might draft a quarterback this year or next year. So it's going to get weird in Pittsburgh. I'm telling you right now, if you didn't already think it was getting weird with all the teams willing to call them to see if they actually wanted to get rid of Mike Tomlin because their fan base is sick and tired of just making the playoffs, which, by the way, you spoiled rotten pieces of what I would do. Okay. What I would do to just make the playoffs year in and year out. Maybe I would get annoyed at it if it always happened. But it's a great question, so we'll see what happens. I still think he does. I still think there's a future for him in the league. Do I think Justin Fields is going to end up as one of the 5 best quarterbacks in the NFL? No.
But could he have a nice career, solid,
Absolutely.
win you some games?
Absolutely. He could definitely win you some games. I mean, if Sam Darnold is out there getting his career revitalized by Kyle Shanahan and Kevin O'Connell, if Josh Dobbs looked like an MVP for 6 weeks in a year and helped the Vikings out, Justin Fields can do that. But, hey, transitioning to turning the year around, Nebraska basketball in a really, really tough spot right now. Losers of their last 6 games of the Big Ten, and we've said it over and over again after it seemed like, we were talking about, man, how can this team go from being just in the tournament to being a top 4 or 5 seed? There were people who were mad that they did not get ranked in the AP top 25 after they beat UCLA at home in what will be, I guess, the peak of the season.
The highlight, yeah.
At this point for the Huskers. They've since dropped 6. They are going to be underdogs tomorrow when they play Illinois at home. PBA, which was a house of whores,
Not who's.
Yeah, no, I said.
Although
at
this point they may need that the last
Who's.
couple games of the season if things continue to trend.
Well,
this
they
way.
won 20 in a row there, and then they've lost 20 Big Ten games in a row there. And then they lost their last 2 against teams they absolutely should have beaten. And then that team just has an entire problem overall, whether it be from culture or scheme or effort, regardless of the fact. They just have a massive, massive problem going on there. Now, I want to say this. There's been a lot of talk about Fred Hoiberg and his job security. Nebraska basketball should not fire Fred Hoiberg. Okay. Now, Gary has talked about, well, if they lose out the rest of the year and they end up going, I think it would be 2-16.
It'll be discussed
in the
at
Big
that
Ten
point,
Conference.
which
Yes,
sucks.
obviously we would have a conversation.
It's too bad.
I don't think it's very highly unlikely that they are going to end up losing in the Big Ten, losing out in the Big Ten Conference. It's just. I'm not going to say it's out of the realm of possibility, but it would be one of the
I got you.
biggest.
Like, this can't happen.
It just can't happen. It absolutely cannot happen. I mean, that would just be totally just uncanny for a team that had started the season so well and had played high-quality basketball, very high-quality basketball up to this point, just lose for the rest of the year. But they have 11 games left, so if they were end up going 2-18 in the Big Ten Conference, that would be, obviously we're going to have that conversation. Now, there will be a conversation, though, at the end of the year between Fred Hoiberg and the athletic department at this point. And so I think, Fred would have to not battle for his job, but explain what happened and why this went awry. I think it's very clear. They found out that the system of building the team through the transfer portal worked 2 years ago when they went 16-16. Okay, that hey, this is something that we can do, that we can find these guys and we can have some momentum, bringing dudes who can play a defensive style of ball. And last season, they brought in Rink Masks and Bryce Williams, and they kind of formed this team, which was already partly created out of transfers, right? Keisei Tominaga was a transfer from a JUCO. CJ Wilcher was a transfer from Xavier. Right? They had brought in, they brought in, along with Bryce Williams and Rink Mask, they brought in Josiah Alec. Jawan Gary, who was brought in before those three, he was a transfer from Alabama. So they had proven, hey, we can build this team and we can win through the transfer portal, and they knocked it out of the park last year. And this year, they didn't do that. Fred can go to the administration, to the athletic director or the athletic department or whoever the heck he has to talk to and say, look, this year was one of those years where it just didn't pan out. We failed. We didn't get the guys that we thought would mesh together in the right way that could lead us to winning. We had some issues within the culture, within the locker room, or within whatever that caused them to maybe slow down midway through the season. Hey, we're going to learn from these mistakes. We're going to roll with the punches, and we understand that these are things that won't happen again. That, hey, we are going to go in and we're going to have an open mind. And this year was actually good for us. And it was actually good for our model because now we've seen it fail and we know better now what not to do. You can definitely make that argument. But one argument, I want to talk about this, Jimmy. One argument I don't want made is that, well, under Fred Hoiberg, this team has had, more success to what Nebraska ball has had. Okay, now this is a tweet. It's from our friend, Mr. Caleb Henry, who comes in here and co-hosts with us whenever Gary is out. He's very much a friend of the show. He's been awesome.
He's a friend to us all.
So Caleb tweets, Nebraska could lose the next 11 games, and this will still be the best 3-season stretch, 51-46, for the Huskers since the final 3 years in the Big Ten. Okay, so I kind of mentioned this earlier in the show. I went down the rabbit hole to see, okay, what bar is Nebraska trying to clear? What bar in terms of...
This is the rabbit hole you went on last night.
Yes.
Okay.
What are they trying to clear? So, what is, all right, this is the best 3-season stretch that they've been on since the last 3 years of the Big 12. What's the low bar? What's the medium bar of what they've been doing? What is the relative success of Nebraska been having? What does Fred Hoiberg have to do in order for people to be like, well, he's had so much more success here than anyone other before him? I'll tell you something right now, Jimmy, that bar is incredibly low. That is the lowest. The whole argument of, well, what they've done over the last 3 years, it's better what they've done before. It is in hell, this bar, because I went through every single team and I put together their record since Nebraska had joined the Big Ten. Now, not included in this Big Ten list are the 4 teams that just joined this year from the Pac-12 because they were not in the conference, and Maryland and Penn State because those are Maryland
Rutgers.
and Rutgers because they did not join the Big Ten before Nebraska. So you have 12 teams here who I went.
So the actual Big Ten.
The actual Big Ten. And I put together their record. Everybody's record, their amount of wins. Can you guess who's had the most wins since 2011, 2012?
I'd want to say Michigan State, but probably not. How about Illinois?
It's Purdue, or it's Michigan State.
Oh, okay.
Michigan State at 341, Purdue at 325, Wisconsin at 324.
Okay. Ooh, I would have guessed that.
Michigan at 313, and the last team over the 300 mark, which is kind of the elite level mark, is Ohio State at 304.
Oh, damn. No,
People
Illinois.
forget.
Yeah.
You know, they had a really, really good early 2010s run. So then
Michigan State always consistent in the Big 12 or Big 10.
Nebraska is all the way at the bottom at 203 wins.
I believe that.
Since they've joined the Big Ten. Now, I don't think that surprises anybody.
No.
Okay, look, we're talking about a team that in the beginning of the Fred Hoiberg era, they won 24 games in 3 seasons. They won 7 games the first 2 years, then 10 games the third year. And then, yes, 16 and 16. Last year, you have the great year. This year, they had a great start. We'll see where the rest of the season goes. Here's the shocking part. Do you know how far away they are from the next team?
I have a feeling it's bad.
So
you said 203?
203.
I'm going to say the next team is 234.
It's 221. It's Northwestern.
All right.
It's Northwestern, which, by the way, Northwestern didn't make an NCAA tournament through the first 6 years of this study. Okay? They did not make the NCAA tournament until 2017. And then they didn't make it again. So then they went another 6-year period of not making it again until 2023 and then 2024. So they are 18 games behind the next team. I do not want to hear the argument of, well, comparative to what this team or what this program was at before, Fred has actually done a nope. You don't get that argument. Because if that is something that is said by the athletic department, let's say if Dannon has to go up and do the State of the Union and explain to people why.
The vote of confidence.
The vote of confidence is there. And one of the reasons he mentions is, well, Fred has had more success here in 3 years in the last, decade or 15 years. I'm done. I'd be like, you don't take this seriously. You're not taking this serious enough because they have been the worst team in the Big Ten since they've joined it. And I guarantee you, maybe
that sounds like a school I used to work for about football until recently.
And maybe if I did go down Maryland and Rutgers and the 4 other Pac-12 teams, I know for sure with USC and UCLA and Oregon that they would definitely have more wins during that same stretch. Now I didn't do that because they're not playing the same level of Pac-12 and Big Ten are different, so it kind of takes away from the fact. But if the vote of confidence has anything to do with Fred for being at Nebraska actually has done a good job. No, because Nebraska's been at the bottom of the barrel of the Big Ten. They've been at the bottom of the barrel of one of the best basketball conferences in the country. You do not get that argument because that bar is so low that anybody could clear it. Okay? So I don't want to hear that. Now, if your vote of confidence is coming from the fact that, hey, the first 3 years, Fred tried building this team through high school, and he quickly realized, high school recruits isn't the way to go. We can't get 3 to 4 to 5 of these guys a year and try to build this team this way, not in this incredibly old Big Ten. We have to do it for the transfer portal. And so the clock...
Which you did at Iowa State, so it works.
Which, by the way, too, you can argue that the clock on Fred's tenure might have restarted when he found success through the transfer portal when he went 16-16.
That's fair.
Because then you can say, well, now he's actually figured it out. And now we can actually start judging him on these results because this is how he's going to build the team. And there's no way he's going back to recruiting high school kids in the manner in which he was when he first got here because There are no high school recruits left on this team from 2023 and before. All the high school recruits recruited, like literally all of them, other than 2, which were the 2 guys who are freshmen who are sitting on the bench right now, have been recruited by Fred through high school. And so if Fred wants to chalk this up, if Coach Hoiberg wants to chalk this up and say, and the athletic department, and they want to say, hey, this is the model we're going to go with. This is what we think is going to have the most amount of success for Nebraska ball. We're going to build through the transfer portal. Some years are going to miss. Some years are going to hit. I'd be fine with that. The problem for Coach Hoiberg, though, is that it can't be 2 years in a row. And that was a little bit of a problem that we've already fallen into a bit, Jimmy, because last year, after going 16-16, they needed to win. There might be an alternate universe where Bryce Williams did not have a good season last year. Rink Mask did not have a good season last year. C.J. Wilcher, Keisei Tominaga, Josiah Alec, Sam Hoiberg didn't play well, and they ended up not making the tournament. They ended up not having one of the best seasons in program history. They ended up not having that success, and Fred isn't even the coach now. There is an alternate universe where that happened. And so you were hoping, okay, now Fred is off the hot seat. He can be calm, cool, and collected. Coach Hoiberg can go ahead and build the program in the way he wants to and continue this success. And now, after having that great year and firmly removing yourself from the hot seat, they've fallen into this abyss where he's back on it. And now next year, his butt's to the fire, and he's got to hit it out of the park, which could be good. Which could be a good thing, which could, make a lot of these guys put on their big boy pants on again, make some big swings, and lead to another great season like they had last year. Or it could lead to panic mode and them worrying, them freaking out, and them losing, having another bad season.
And then
because
whoever
of the fact
inherits
that they
the mess.
Exactly. You really needed this season to hit so you can continue the success of just the snowball effect. We talked about it yesterday, where we could look up at the banners and say more NCAA tournament qualifications and an actual NCAA tournament win.
Nobody looks
where you
like
can
they're
show
having
some
fun
pelts on the wall.
playing. When you watch
Well,
these
that's a
games,
whole
there's
other
no
story.
joy. Yeah, but it's all, in some ways, it's all connected. Because they shouldn't be this bad.
No.
Not saying they should be on the 1 seed line, but at the same time, you should not be this bad.
It's absolutely inexcusable to have the start of the season that they did and beat the teams that they did and then end up
I mean, you
season
think
being
the
this
same
way.
team that beat Creighton, and I'm not getting started into that,
Sure.
this versus, that's not what I mean. My point is, I still always think highly of Creighton. I think they're a very fine team. Max, a fantastic coach. So that's a legitimate win. Yes, did they have an off night, but they're still pretty damn good. So if you're able to get a game plan, follow through, beat a solid team, also where they held their all-star dude to just 4 points. So they did something right that night. And it doesn't matter. He could have had the flu. It does not matter. The point is they did something. If you can go from that to this, something doesn't add up. The truth should be somewhere in the middle.
I mean, I honestly do feel bad for Coach Hoiberg and the fact that it just seemed like this program was pushing that rock up the hill.
At 50-35 in Iowa City, it looked like, ooh,
Exactly.
Iowa, this was a 4-on-none break. They're going to roll. This is great. All right, they're good.
That they were pushing that rock up the hill, and they were getting themselves to the point where they, like I said, had pelts on the wall and could tell recruits and could tell transfers and could tell people, man, look at what we're building.
Come join.
We're turning this around.
Be a part of
this
it.
is a great university. Look at the crowds we get. Look at the facilities we have.
You want to meet Matt Rule?
And then all of a sudden, you look at how they play on the court, Jimmy, and the lazy closeouts, the bad body language, the heads in legs.
Well, the fans knew last week, the game, the last 3 minutes, it was weird because it's a close game, right?
And
there's
no
still
one's very much in cheering, it.
And everyone was just like,
now we're going to lose. And it's just like, that does not happen on the court if something isn't else going on in that locker room. And
that doesn't happen last year.
And it's just weird. It's just weird. And I feel a little bad because, man, they were going in the right direction, and now your feet are right back to the fire.
Yep.
And it doesn't get easier. Doesn't get easier. You got Illinois and Oregon on the road. All righty. We're going to keep moving here. We got Random Mike on the line. We're going to get to Random Mike. See what he's got to say. Always entertaining. Always the best. And then at 9 o'clock, we got the John, the John Walker.
Mike, are you there?
As Xavier takes on.
Oh, Mike is there.
Oh,
okay.
we were gonna save him for the next segment.
We'll just take him back.
Hey, Mike. No, Mike.
You want to hold Mike?
Mike, we're gonna put you on hold. We'll get back to you in the next segment. Okay. All right. Beauty. We're going to go to break. We'll bring on Random Mike. Then we'll have John Walker. Then we'll have the impeccable Brandon Vogel. We got a good slate. Last hour coming up soon here on 1620 The Zone. Listen to Gary Matt here on 1620 The Zone. Gary on the road as the Omaha Mavericks will be taking on the South Dakota Coyotes in Vermillion tonight. Mavericks making to look at 10 in a row. We'll go to Random Mike. Mike, you there?
Can you hear me?
I can hear you,
yeah,
Mike.
there he is.
What's up, my man?
Look, as a kid in Chicago,
Mm-hmm.
I was the biggest Bears fan, much
Yeah.
like yourself. Tell me something. Do they still have the same theme song, the Bears song?
You mean Bear Down Chicago Bears, Mike?
How does that go?
Bear down Chicago Bears. Put up
That's
a
it.
fight with a might so fierce. Yes, that
Yeah.
one. Never
But
forget the
little
way that
kids-
thrilled the nation, Mike, with the T formation. You
He
never
even
forget
dances
that.
to it.
I love that song. And when I was a little kid,
Yeah.
the Bears had three of the greatest players of all time.
Mm-hmm.
And so fan-friendly as players can be in terms of just fun to watch.
Oh, yeah.
Dick Butkus, Gale Sayers, and Mike Ditka. I mean, these guys are fantastic. And that team never made the playoff. Can you believe that?
I couldn't when I found that out very, very many moons ago when my father told me that. But yeah, I mean, those are not only three Hall of Famers, Mike, but like Ditka at one point arguably was the greatest tight end ever. Butkus at one point you could argue was the greatest linebacker ever. And there still are people.
You can still argue that.
You can still argue that.
Middle linebacker
And there are still people who bang on the drum and say if Gale Sayers' career didn't end as tragically as it did, early, right? I mean, he only played 6 years in the NFL. If he had more time,
greatest ever.
He could be the greatest ever. I mean, there are still people who say that he was better than Sweetness in his prime. I mean, you're absolutely right. I mean, it was a man, Mike, what I would do to get that now, man. What I would do.
But they had the coach that started the damn league.
Exactly.
George Halleck.
Exactly.
Who won multiple national championships, but he was an old guy then. As an old guy,
I know.
I realized you don't want old guys necessarily in charge. You got to have some real good people behind you. But about Nebraska basketball,
sure,
it strikes me that if you defend the three better, they win so many more games. And
Yeah.
I think, and they got a great defensive coordinator,
With
but
Losner,
I think
yeah.
they were used to not having a big man that could defend the other big man. So you always needed, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
They got three big men now. Don't you think they got to change what they're doing and not be so? They're probably as vulnerable to a good 3-point shooting team as anybody, don't you think?
Well, I think, Mike, my biggest concern is that the closeouts have gotten slower. The closeouts have gotten lazier. They're not playing defense any differently than when they were beating these teams, right? I mean, yeah, our team's making some more threes than usual, sure. But it's also to do with the fact that when they were winning, the aggressiveness, the greediness, the intensity, the ferocity was so much higher than it is now.
Well, I think they're playing a style. You hear this all the time. The style of defense they play means they've got to be a super aggressive, playing super hard on defense. I think it's making perfect the enemy of the good. They're making really hard on themselves, and they got more legitimate big men where they don't have to do that. I mean, that's my thinking, that they got to change some of the ways they're doing things, not to be as vulnerable.
Absolutely. Great call, Mike. Appreciate it as always.
Take care.
I mean, Mike's right. I mean, it's they have to be better at defending the three. But I very rarely do you see this, Jimmy, where it's not like the culture problems were on set to begin the year. I mean, and look, here's the thing. This is all speculation, right? I mean, I'm not revealing anything that's going on within the locker room. And we really don't know if there's a culture problem. But when you see the manner in which they're playing, and you see that they are doing lazy closeouts, and you do see the body language, and you do see the fact that they are lacking energy,
something's going on.
Something's going on.
And it could be anything. And it doesn't even have to be basketball. Most times it isn't.
And so you see that, and you're like, typically you see that at the dawn of the season, at the beginning of the season. You see it right away. It's something that it plagues the team, and
Wait
it's like,
till they put it together.
Man, you got to get out of it. And they win a game, and then they have some confidence and they get going. I haven't seen it where they come out and man, they're winning and they're winning and they're winning. They're playing great ball and they have all the energy, and then it just goes away. And it stuck out to me like a sore thumb when they played Wisconsin. The fact that they came out there and they were lazy and they were slow and they weren't playing the defense that we saw them play when they were successful. But then when Wisconsin started to play bad basketball and play bad offense and they started to get stops, then you started seeing them play quicker. Then you started seeing them have that momentum, play with that energy, play with that ferocity. But the problem is that can't happen. Wisconsin should not have unsuccessful possessions that get you fired up. You should be fired up from the get-go because you got to turn your season around.
Your story reminds me, before we go, back when I used to call games for a living, we were playing a game in Ames, a Sunday afternoon game, much like the Nebraska-Wisconsin the other day, and it was a timeout, first media, and we're already down something like 14-1 or something.
Sure.
And I'm sitting next to the bench at Hilton, and I can hear in the huddle, all I hear are the players bitching that they're hungry. They didn't eat breakfast because they didn't like the spread at the hotel. So this is all they're talking about. And at that point, Coach told me later, that's when I knew we could have just started the bus right there.
Yeah.
So when I'm watching the game Sunday and then I'm listening to you talk about it the next day, that's exactly what I thought about. I was like, watch, they were probably complaining about breakfast. They were hungry.
I think it was during the Rutgers game. You had Dylan Harper screaming, "We just want it more. We just want it more." And with a team like that, can't be the case. Can't be the case. All right, going from one basketball team in Nebraska to another basketball team in Nebraska, we'll be talking the Creighton Blue Jays and their upcoming game against the Xavier Musketeers tonight. We're bringing on John Walker here on Gary Matt on 1620 The Zone.
Peterman knows my favorite road trips. Loved calling games there. Loved our trips. If you know, you know.
Gary and Matt here on 1620 The Zone. Mr. Sharp is on the road up to Vermilion right now as the Omaha Mavericks are going to take on the South Dakota Coyotes tonight. Mr. Jimmy Chavez sitting in with me. Peterman on the ones and twos. And look who joins us here, Mr. John Walker. The Creighton Blue Jays are taking on the West Virginia Mountaineers. But take me home, country road. John, how you doing?
Hey, and I'm good. Is there a better song to start the morning?
Ooh.
Not at all. Or to end a game.
Probably Morning is Broken by Cat Stevens, but I think this is very much a close second. And when we're talking about close seconds, let's start talking about the Creighton Blue Jays, who are currently in third place in the Big East. And I'll start off this way. I know they got a big game tonight against Xavier, but I want to get your overall outlook, John, of the Big East, which has been playing really, really good basketball as of late. Is St. John's, are they the best team in the league right now?
I think talent-wise, yes.
Okay.
Their Achilles heel all season has been their three-point shooting. They're shooting like sub 30% as a team, which is super tough. But that makes it all the more impressive that they are they played last night, so now they're 9-1 in the league, 18-3 overall. Like, they have won 7 straight. Their only loss since Thanksgiving was to Creighton in Omaha.
Yeah.
That's a pretty solid resume.
Yeah, I mean, and by the way, not only did they just win yesterday, they absolutely beat the brakes off of Georgetown. It was an incredibly impressive victory. And talking about impressive victories, we have to talk about Creighton's opponent tonight, the Xavier Musketeers. They're coming off of massive wins toward the top. They beat UConn. They beat Marquette. They are now currently slotted as the first 4 out. With a win tonight, they will most likely put themselves in the conversation of being the first or last 4 in. What do you expect tonight from Xavier? What can fans expect tonight at the CHI Health Center?
Yeah, I think it's going to be really interesting because Xavier loves to drive the lane, loves to get to the rim, whether it's to obviously lay it in, to slam it home, or to draw enough fouls to get to the free throw line, line, which they get a lot of production from. So it's going to be kind of the, with him wanting to get to the rim and Ryan Kalkbrenner hanging around it, it's going to be the kind of unstoppable force, immovable object deal. But I think this is really interesting because if you think back to, I don't know, let's say a month ago even, because Creighton had not played St. John's yet, we were sitting here saying, man, for Creighton to flip its season around, for Creighton to be a tournament team, it has to pick up a couple of these marquee wins atop the league. And now that is the exact spot that Xavier is in.
Sure. Yeah.
And so it'll be really interesting to see if Creighton can be on the opposite side of that desperation, if you will, and be able to hold off Xavier.
It's almost like the hunter becomes the hunted, right? And it's but if you were to trust any coach to kind of switch that mindset around and be the one that is manning Creighton's bench right now, for sure.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I can't remember if we talked about it last week or what, but a guy who, is certainly in the conversation, if not the front runner for Big East Coach of the Year.
John, the Jays starting to get hot. Is it a matter of they're figuring it out, or is Mac doing some different things here since they kind of were going through it a few weeks ago?
No, I wrote about this a little bit last week in the build up to the Seton Hall game. They are so good in January, just historically. Under Mac, and he joked about it last week, and he said, some of it might be dumb luck. Obviously they don't control how the schedule falls or how a team's play on any given night. So sure, I get that, but when you've had as much success as they have had consistently as they've had in January, it's no luck. I think team or guys are starting to settle into their role on this team. They usually do that around, I don't know, mid-December, late December, certainly early January when conference play gets going. But that was delayed a little bit this year.
Yeah.
When Pop Isaacs went out and everybody kind of had to readjust. So
Sure.
no, Mac tightens his rotation. Once they really get into conference play, he's done that a little bit. It's been somewhat different because they're trying to integrate Fedor as well. Still keep Mason out there. Isaac Trout has developed into a heck of a sixth man. But needless to say, all of those roles are being defined, and they're all settling into them. And I think that's really helped Creighton turn things around.
So, John, it's incredible the journey this team has gone on through narratives, right? And I mean, you are one of the best, if not the best, at writing that and articulating that to readers. But let's start from the beginning, right? It began the season well. You lose all these guys. You lose Alexander. You lose Shireman. But hey, you still got Kalk. You still got Ashworth, and you have Pop Isaacs, right? They go on the season. They have some ups and downs, but they beat Kansas. And you're like, hey, like this is the team that we thought beginning of the season it could be. Maybe they're better than we expected. Pop goes down. Then it turns into, okay, if this team is going to win games, you're going to need Jemiah Neal to have a great night every single night. And if he doesn't, and by the way, it's already spoken for that Kalkbrenner and Ashworth have to have great nights every single night for them to win games. Those three have to have great nights in order for them to just get into the tournament. Not even talking about making the tournament. Now we've seen, and Jemiah didn't have a great game his last outing, but we've seen Jemiah take that step, and he's looking better and better, and he's red hot. But now you got guys like Zugic. You got guys like Trout who are stepping up, who are playing better. You got guys like Jackson McAndrew. And now, is it out of the realm of possibility? Am I buying in too much of the hype here, John, with if these guys, especially off the bench with Zugic and Trout, continue to play the way they play, is this turning into a team who 4 weeks ago we were saying may not make the tournament to they could make the second weekend? Or am I getting ahead of the curve here?
No, I don't think it's out of the question that they could make the second weekend at all. Greg McDermott would be the first person to tell you, and I'd agree. I think most people would. Probably 80% of that depends on the draw you get.
Yeah.
Like if they get a draw where they have to play, let's say, if they're in an 8-9 matchup and they have to play Gonzaga and the
Auburn
winner gets Auburn,
yeah,
like you really want that to be your path to the second weekend?
Sure,
absolutely not.
Yeah, but you can get a draw where you get like a back end Big Ten team if you're a 7 seed, and then you get Marquette, who you've played plenty already, who you've been competitive. It's a great point.
So I think this team, it's going to be super, super, super hard because the non-con went as poorly as it did.
Yeah.
Kansas aside. But if this team could climb to a 6 seed, even a 7 seed, if they could slide into that 7-10 matchup, they could get a pretty advantageous draw.
And nobody's going to want to play them.
No.
John, the significance of that road win at UConn, I know it's not the same UConn as the past 2 years, but they're not exactly chopped liver. And it seemed like that signaled sort of a turning point that this team saw this is what we could be. And it's a different narrative as we've gone forward since.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. I've said this for a little bit now that the team Creighton or the UConn that Creighton sees in Omaha in a couple of weeks is not, well, I should say likely will not be the team that Creighton saw in stores a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah.
Liam McNeely will probably be back and about as fresh as you could be coming off of an ankle sprain in February at that point. And then that'll obviously open up things for Alex Caravan. So it'll be different. But nonetheless, it was a big win because as Greg McDermott has since said, when you tell guys, hey, This is your role. This is your role. I just need you to do this. If you can do this,
Yeah.
it'll be okay.
Yeah.
And then they go out and get a win like that
Mhm.
in that place against that team. Well, then you start to believe, oh, okay, maybe this guy knows what he's talking about.
Sure.
And so it only takes one of those.
Yeah.
And the Kansas game was kind of that. But then as you said, everything kind of got derailed when Pop
Exactly.
went down, 48 hours later. And so that UConn win, I think, maybe the St. John's one too. But certainly winning at UConn, it was one of those wins that kind of makes you, you see it, you believe it.
Yeah, you start buying in, and it's so weird, John. Like that Kansas win, like it's not going to go away. It's a quad one win. It's going to be on the resume, but it's almost like it didn't even count because you're like, well, we're not that team, like we're different now.
Yeah.
So they had to like recover from that essentially, and I think it was a great insight by you that typically you see the teams come on a little bit earlier than they have this season, but this season they suffered an injury where they had to completely change what they were doing in terms of who was handling what. John Walker, Creighton beat writer, the Omaha World Herald. All right, great Creighton talk so far. Let's transition a little bit. I know I asked you about St. John's. I want to ask you about another team at the top of the league, Marquette. Give me your take on them. I've been watching a little bit of the Golden Eagles here, and they're winning games, but it's getting a little dicey. Last night, it got a little dicey. They beat the brakes off of Seton Hall, but before that, they lost to Xavier. They nearly lost to DePaul. It wasn't necessarily a blowout against Georgetown, and even Creighton, dating all the way back to the beginning of the month, that was a game that you could argue that if Ryan Kalkbrenner and Stephen Ashworth shoot better, that Creighton should have won.
Yeah.
So what are you looking at with Shaka Smart's crew? And they got a great trio, but what's your outlook on this team?
Yeah, I think they're going to be super tough because they're super parodic. Like they have a lot of parity on offense.
Yes.
I think last night showed what they beat.
It beat Butler yesterday.
They beat Butler.
Yeah.
Cam Jones picked up his third foul early in the second half. Sat a lot of the bench in the second half, and it didn't matter. They still found a way to score, still found a way to win. Marquette is currently, I think, top 25 in offense and defensive rating on KenPom.
Wow.
That is that's a recipe for success. I just think that they have so many options on offense. They have the experience. Like they've only had 7 different starters over the last 3 seasons.
Wow.
That is insane.
Insane.
And 2 of those guys are in the NBA. In Tyler Kolek and Oso Ighodaro. So it's absolutely nuts. They have the experience together. They have the offensive firepower, and they have a couple of scrappy, hard-nosed, on-ball defenders. Kind of led by, depending on who you ask,
sure,
Big East Defensive Player of the Year candidate, at least, Stevie Mitchell. So, no, whatever side somebody falls on in the Kalkbrenner or Stevie Mitchell argument, which has obviously sparked a lot of debate.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely.
It's still it's still a pretty stout defense from Marquette. So I think that they have a little bit of everything going. I really do.
Yeah.
They're going to be tough to beat.
All right, we're going to get you out of here on this. Do you think the rest of the Big East and the rest of just the country is waiting for McNeely to come back and UConn just absolutely turn it on? I mean, like, how much fear do people still have in UConn? And is there, where would you rank 3 straight national championships in a row amongst sport accomplishments?
Like if UConn did it?
If UConn did it.
If UConn did it this season, all things considered, with how good the who's who of the country is.
Yeah.
We're talking about the Auburns, the Tennessees, the Kentuckys,
the Iowa States,
the Houstons.
Yeah.
Like as good as the top of the country is, as much as UConn has struggled, it would be incredible if they somehow won back to back to back national championships. I don't think it happens this year.
Okay.
I think the thing with them last year was like they were so competitive. Every single person in their lineup like played with a vengeance almost, or at least defended with a vengeance.
Sure.
And they just don't have that 1 through 5 this year like they did last year. And so no, they're waiting on McNeely to come back. There's absolutely no doubt about it. But I don't. They'll probably be better as a team. Obviously, we're talking about McNeely being a Big East Freshman of the Year candidate, probably the front runner if I had to guess. But they've got some issues bigger than Liam McNeely. So we'll see.
We'll see. We'll see. Don't turn your back on me. I'm the best effing coach in the country. We'll tell you someone who doesn't turn your back. I'll tell you someone who doesn't turn their back on us. That's Mr. John Walker, the Omaha World Herald, every Wednesday, 9 a.m. Thank you so much, Johnny. Appreciate it.
Thanks, guys.
Always the best. Always the best. John Walker, Omaha World Herald. Man, Jace, I mean, it's crazy. It's like we can't have nice things here in Nebraska. We can't have 3 teams all vying to get into the NCAA tournament. I mean, things almost must be balanced. As soon as it seems like 2 teams or 3 teams are in, you got to flip the balance. You got to flip it around. It's always too good to be true here in Nebraska basketball. But Creighton Blue Jays, big game tonight, playing the Xavier team that has a lot to play for. A lot to play for. If the Musketeers can pull off the win tonight at the CHI Health Center and then roll that into the remaining Big East schedule, they're going to have a great chance at getting into the dance. Omaha Mavericks play tonight. Nebraska basketball plays tomorrow. Big week of hoops. Every week is a big week of hoops right now, and I absolutely love it. College basketball is peaking. We're getting more and more people to watch the sport just before March. It's great for everything. So we'll talk a little bit about that. We'll talk a little bit about the NFL. We got a contest here. So here's what we're gonna do. We did it yesterday. We're doing it today. I think we're calling it What's Up. We're gonna play you a clip. Okay, we're going to play you a clip at the end of next segment. Okay, it's going to be a call. It's going to be an announcer's play call.
Be a little harder today.
During the break. So at the end of next segment, we'll play it. And then at the end of next segment's break, you're going to call in. First caller to call in and say how that play ends, what the end of that play ends. They're going to get $100. So we're going to play a clip. We're going to cut at the very end. You call in. You tell us how it ends. 100 big ones in your pocket. Don't go anywhere. You're listening to Gary and Matt here on 1620 The Zone. We're brewing coffee here.
We are
brewing
the coffee mood. It's brewing, and we're playing espresso.
Things are brewing here in Nebraska in the sports world as well. You're listening to Gary and Matt here on 1620 The Zone. Jimmy Chavez, typically on the ones and twos, right next to me on the microphone. Peter Mann behind the board. What do you want to talk about?
Look at this crew.
What do you want to talk about? This is a ragtag volunteer army in need of a shower. I mean, this is
all of us.
I'm in need of a shower.
Actually, I'm probably in need of one too.
Are you a shower at night or shower in the morning type guy?
I used to be a shower at morning kind of guy. I'll get this fixed. I need to get my other camera on.
That microphone is brutal, by the way.
It is, and I've used it before. But no, I need to get on this camera, and it hasn't loaded. But we'll fix that. Anyway,
we'll fix that.
To answer your question, when I went onto this schedule, I became a night guy because it's hard enough as you're learning, getting up this early.
It is so bad.
And unlike Gary, I do sleep. I do like sleep. I enjoy it. I try to do it every night. And the thought of all that commotion to shower at 3:45 in the morning, listen, it's just the bare basics at that time. Get some coffee in me, maybe some sort of feeding, depending on the day. Today wasn't one of those days because I just wasn't hungry. And then, then you come in. But then, yes, the shower comes later. I run, although I haven't this time of the year.
Yeah,
but
sure.
And not as much as, Josh Peterson, who we all chase. And
we're always chasing Josh Peterson.
He inspires us. And
yes, he does.
And actually, he has talked to me about that in the past. But no, about running. Because when I first moved here, I lost all my trails. I didn't know where to go.
Sure.
So Josh was my guy to kind of recommend places. And
do you need that? Good thing I'm not a running guy. I don't need to be told trails.
No, he was great. And
I just need to find where the nearest Crunch Fitness is.
Hey, but that leads into the you shower later. So
I shower. Okay. So I shower at night. Is this weird? I shower at night, and then I shower when I get home.
I don't
because I feel a little
double shower guy.
A double shower. Well,
do you pay for water yet?
Yeah, I do.
It can't be that bad. It can't be that bad.
By the way, I take quick showers. How long do you think my showers are? Now I take longer showers now because I'm losing hair, and it's a problem. And so I actually have this like tea tree oil Asian shampoo where it has to soak in my hair for 5 minutes in order to up the volume of my scalp so I don't lose my hair by the time I'm 30, which is an active goal of mine. I really wouldn't like to go to Turkish hairlines when I'm 30 years old and try and regalvanize the hair that's on top of my head. I would like to keep my scalp as long as possible. So, and then I do the conditioner as well. So I went from like a 3-minute shower guy to like I'm firmly an 8-minute shower guy, which has been weird and not great for the water bill. But the water bill used to be on my parents' dime, and now it's on my dime.
It's on yours.
So now I'm really feeling it in the pockets. So Super Bowl coming up. Got me thinking. We know who the
Will the Chiefs ever lose again? I know. Trust me. I think about this every day.
We know who the 4 best quarterbacks are in the NFL. It is. There's no debate. Okay. It is Joe Burrow. Mm-hmm. It is Lamar Jackson. It is Josh Allen. It is Patrick Mahomes.
They all play in the AFC.
They all play in the AFC. Now, on top of that, I think you could make an argument for every single one of them to be put at the top of that list. Okay, you can. Now, for me, it's Mahomes because, yes, are Mahomes' stats as gaudy as they used to be from a couple of years ago when he had Tyreek Hill? No, they're not. But the guy just wins. He just does what he needs to do in order to win football games. The greatest stat that encapsulates all of that is the fact that he is 7 for 7 in the playoffs with 1 minute left when his team needs either a field goal or a touchdown to tie and win the game. The average team scores at that 40% of the time. He is perfect 7 of 7. He's as clutch as they get. He's as smart as they get. He extends plays. He is just a winner. That's all he does. He just wins. So I put him at number 1. But Lamar is going to win back-to-back MVPs. And Josh Allen is playing at a level that maybe he should win MVP this year. And then you got Joe Burrow, who had an incredible individual season this year, who, by the way, is the only guy in the AFC not named Tom Brady to clip Patrick Mahomes and nearly won a Super Bowl a couple of years ago. And so you're sitting here, and by the way, Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson haven't been to a Super Bowl, and so you have to credit Burrow for doing that. So that's neither here nor there.
He was a hero in our house.
But who's 5? Like, who in the hell is the 5th best quarter? I cannot get my mind around this. Who is, because you can say, well, statistically, it's Justin Herbert. But you cannot have underwhelming playoff performance after underwhelming playoff performance and then consistently tell me that it's actually not his fault, that it's his weapons' fault, or just make excuses. At first it was he had Brandon Staley. Well, they got rid of Brandon Staley. Now he's got Jim Harbaugh, who's one of the best coaches in the NFL. And you can't say now, well, he doesn't have Mike Williams or Keenan Allen, so that's why he didn't win this year. He did fine without him. He did perfectly fine with Ladd McConkey and the run game that they had. So you cannot have failure after failure in the playoffs and then tell me Justin Herbert is the 5th best quarterback in the NFL. I would have told you to begin the year, well, CJ Stroud has an inside track to do that. But he did not have a as good of a season as he did last year.
Bit of a step back.
And he took a bit of a step back. Still a very good quarterback. Took a bit of a step back.
This list because of that.
Are we ready? Are you going to go ahead and crown Sam Darnold, Jared Goff, or Baker Mayfield because they had great seasons?
No.
Because we know their flaws. We know their incapabilities.
If we're picking amongst those 3, I'm probably saying Baker.
Absolutely.
I think the sample size is there.
Is
process of elimination.
I don't know. Goff's been having... Look, Jared Goff was brought in to Detroit to be a bridge guy. That's why he was brought in. He was brought in.
And he has well outperformed.
And he's well outperformed those expectations. And now, has he taken a massive hit after his lackluster NFC divisional round performance? Yes. But statistically, he was performing at that top 5 level before he got there. So I think there is an argument for Goff. But then you have the curious case of Jalen Hurts, where it's like, the guy's made 2 Super Bowls now.
Yeah.
He outperformed
and
Patrick
if he
Mahomes.
wins one.
He outperformed Patrick Mahomes. See, we have a comment here in the YouTube comments. Jordan Love is the 5th best quarterback in the league. You must be a Packers fan. Yeah, miss me on that. For when Jordan Love is at his best, I'll give you that. When Jordan Love is playing at his highest level, I would agree with that he does play at a top 5 level. He's capable of being there. He doesn't do that enough. But how do you not say that Jalen Hurts isn't a top 5 quarterback when in the last 3 years he's been to 2 Super Bowls? At the same time, and he kind of mentioned it, I think jokingly, in his press conference, that his coach has taken him out of a straitjacket and they let him throw the ball a little bit against Washington. But there's a reason why the Eagles run the ball.
Because it's a way of life.
Because it's more efficient than him passing the ball. They'd much rather they run the ball than they pass the ball. Now, are we getting down into the weeds of, is he really important because they don't run it? Like, you get into the stupid J.J. McCarthy argument where it's like J.J. McCarthy's stock for whatever reason dropped because his team ran the ball all the time, despite the fact that he's 15. They won 15-0, won a national championship.
Yeah, they won.
Jalen Hurts is, they had an incredible season. Now they're in the Super Bowl. So you can kind of shut up about that in terms of do they really need, is Jalen Hurts the weak link of the team because they don't throw the ball a lot? But at the same time, when we're talking about who's the 5th best quarterback in the league, I don't know if it can be the guy who throws the ball the 32nd most in the NFL. Is it Jaden Daniels? Is it the rookie already?
I wondered if you were going there. But then I'm here to listen to, okay, well, if not him, then who? And I have a hard time unless I'm just forgetting a somebody in there.
That's the problem with this, isn't it? Because you say, well, you got the top 4. Yeah. And very easily, bang, it should be, well, the 5th guy is this. And there's not.
And it kind of raises the question, is this the sport where it's hardest to maintain form? Because those top 4 guys have done an excellent job of setting the standard and raising the bar continuously.
Yeah.
And then from there, it's like, well, has anyone else really been able to do that? They've had great seasons, but then what happens after a breakout year?
Look at Mahomes. They've changed the way they do things in Kansas City, and they were at the beginning of the run the explosive plays,
Yes.
big offense, all this. And they had a nice defense, but as Spags and they've gone all in on defense, they've sort of gone back to what used to work in Kansas City in the early 90s, is that they are a defense first team. But Mahomes is still good at, especially when it's winning time. So they don't ask him to be the guy all the time, but when you need him, or it's a game like last Sunday or last year in the run, there he is. He makes the plays when he has to make them. But you look at it, and Gary said this before, it is a different style. So they have adapted and evolved. And I think that's the next thing for these quarterbacks. You have to evolve as a team, because in the NFL, as in anything, all these people get paid lots of money to figure you out. And everybody can be figured out. So you have to stay a step or two ahead. And this is where the Chiefs are good at it, because Andy Reid knows this. And so you're already, and we talked about this yesterday. Kelsey said 200 new plays. They're always thinking ahead. That's why they've continued this run. I mean, obviously, yes, the quarterback, but going back to the whole point of this is that's the next step, is that you continue to evolve. But the point is, Patrick Mahomes, consistent. When you need
a win,
he's there. He'll make the play, and that is what elite quarterbacks do. It's not always the same method of winning. It's not always the same style. Sometimes you do got to get nitty-gritty, and that's why with what the Eagles are doing, that's okay. You can run the ball and win. It was proven in this state.
Another thing, too, though, is like that's what dynasties do.
Yeah.
They adapt.
They evolve. The Steelers were a run-first team in the mid-'70s. By the late 70s, they started to air it out more to Lynn Swann and John Stallworth. And yes, they still ran the ball with Harrison Blyer, but they had evolved because you have to.
Yeah. The early days of the Patriots was that.
Yeah.
Ran the ball, great defense. Then when they got Randy Moss, it turned into that explosive style of play. I'll say this, though, and I think it's an interesting thought. The NFL is not rooting for sides here. Okay, regardless of who wins
for their pocketbooks.
Yeah, and the pocketbooks are going to be stacked because the Kansas City Chiefs are an incredible story, trying to win 3 Super Bowls in a row. And if Saquon Barkley ends up winning the Super Bowl and then ends up winning the NFL, the Super Bowl MVP, you can argue that he'd have the greatest running back season of all time. He'll more than likely beat Terrell Davis's all-time in-season, including playoff rushing record, and then on top of that, have the accomplishment of winning the Super Bowl. And so it's like win-win regardless for the NFL. But if you're the NFL, I think you're hoping that Kansas City doesn't beat Philadelphia in the manner in which you convince yourself that the Buffalo Bills could have beaten the Eagles. Because then you get into this weird area in which next season we'll be looking at, well, the AFC Championship is actually the Super Bowl. And actually, what goes on in the AFC is more important than that goes on in the entire league. And
that's
I don't
what used to happen in the NFC in the 90s.
And I don't think anyone is going to tune in less for that. Like, that's not going to drop the ratings or drop anything like that. But it's such like a weird, sorry, low-hanging fruit narrative.
So you're saying the Chiefs have to blast them, blow them
out? No.
Or lose?
No. You're hoping that the Chiefs don't blast.
Oh, you're
the
hoping
Eagles.
that it's okay.
You're hoping that the Eagles make it competitive if they lose, because you don't want it to fall into the fact that, like, into the narrative of well, if the Bills had beaten the Chiefs, the Bills would have killed the Eagles, and then now you're thinking, well, it's only the AFC that matters. It's just a negative narrative.
I got that.
You know, that
is a holding penalty to set up a winning field goal. Yeah, there you go.
There you go. That works out.
Hey, the refs just helped again.
I think it's going to be competitive. I
do too.
Absolutely.
Your generation, that's all you've seen. Good Super Bowls, close games, except for one.
I've
literally, you have no idea
one.
what we used to have, which was blowouts every year.
I know. Yeah, it was the Seattle. I mean, so obviously I remember, Bears versus Colts. But then the one I remember after that was Cardinals versus Steelers.
Great game.
Like,
and
that's
the Bears Colts game wasn't bad either.
No.
The rain kind of neutralized. It was a good ball game.
Fantastic halftime.
Fantastic.
I wish I had seen it. I've seen it since.
Yeah, Steelers, Pittsburgh in 11, or Steelers, Green Bay. That was competitive in 11. Then that kind of got
Ravens-Niners.
Ravens-Niners was a great one. After, it wasn't competitive, and then the blackout happened, and then it was competitive. The Patriots, Seattle, Patriots, Falcons, Patriots, Rams, Patriots, Eagles, all super competitive. Patriots, Giants, Patriots. Caleb Henry tried telling me I wasn't there for that. Dude, I watched all those things. I just wasn't there in 04 or 05. All righty.
I mean, you might have.
Talking about historic plays, talking about historic Super Bowls, we're going to play a game.
Oh, yes.
We tease it, and in the last segment, here's what we're going to do. We're going to play you a famous NFL clip, but we're going to cut the clip off at the very end. Okay? We're going to cut the clip off at the very end. Then we're going to go to break. Then call in and tell us how the play ends. If you are the first caller in and you tell us how the play ends, you will get $100. Okay? That's what you got to do. Peter, in the next 10 seconds, you're going to play the clip. It's going to get cut off. We're going to go to break. Call in. Tell us how it ends. Win $100. Kick it, Peter, man.
Here it comes.
Opening drive, second half. Oilers up 28-3. Right goes far side.
Oh, it just faded out from the play.
Opening drive, second half. Oilers up 28-3. Right goes far side. This is intercepted. And down the far sideline is Bubba McDowell. And he will score.
And that is the end. It was over when that happened. Everyone thought it's all over. Houston's going to Pittsburgh. The Buffalo Bills aren't going back to a third straight Super Bowl. Turn out the lights at what was Rich Stadium at the time.
And then
here come the Buffalo Bills with
There you
Frank
go.
Wright, Kenneth Davis. That was Bubba McDowell intercepting a pass off Wright. One of the early plays of the third quarter, as you heard. The late, great Charlie Jones, once the voice of AFC West football. If you know, you know. And Bubba McDowell makes it 35-3 Oilers. And then Buffalo comes back to win 41-38 in overtime. Remember watching that? I was 9 years old, and I was just laughing. Like, this isn't happening. The Buffalo Bills don't lose like this at home back then to anybody. And in the playoffs. but never doubt the ability to blow a game like the late Houston Oilers.
We go from one great play to one great guest in Mr. Brandon Vogel of counterread.com. Brandon, my man, how are you? Do you remember that play?
I do. Was it 93?
Yes,
92?
January 3rd, 1993.
93. Yeah. So I remember watching. I think I might have jumped into that game in the second half or something. So
did the Bills.
Yeah. Yeah. Maybe that was the key. We both showed up at the same time. One of the wilder ones. I mean, 35-3 in the third quarter. It's crazy.
That is, I just chills down the spine thinking about it. Hey, Brandon, let's talk about a big transfer get for the Nebraska Cornhusker volleyball team. Allie, how do I say your last name? Allie, is it Shech?
Yes.
Shech. Okay. Tell us about Allie Shech. She's coming from Baylor. What can Husker fans expect? What are some things that she did really, really well in the Big 12? Some things that you can prove on. Just kind of give us the whole rundown here of the Huskers' new opposite hitter.
Yeah, I mean, Nebraska kind of had has a couple of holes of players that have just moved on, and Merritt Beeson is probably as big as they come, outside of Lexi Rodriguez. So Nebraska will look to Czech as a replacement for her. Hit at a pretty high level at a program, Baylor, that's been consistently strong, down a little bit from kind of where it was maybe 7, 8, 9 years ago, where it was kind of Final Four contending team. So Nebraska gets a seasoned outside hitter. One thing with Coach Cook, he consistently pitches, making these outside hitters, these big, powerful offensive players, 6 rotation players. So this is another one of those where you're trying to get somebody who's an all around player. His track record kind of speaks for itself there for the most part, in terms of bringing in transfers who have had a big impact, which is exactly what Beeson was coming from a Florida program. That's kind of was in a similar spot to where I would put Baylor right now.
Yeah, and Landfair too, coming from a Minnesota program. It's kind of a bit of a trademark, right? Of getting these defensive specialists and liberos and developing them within the program from high school, but not being afraid to go and get your big pin hitters from the portal and maximizing that, because experience is so big. And talking about experience, a coach who had a ton of experience, not only just coaching, but playing as well, Jordan Larson, no longer will be on the bench for the Huskers, deciding to move on and go to different things. Just kind of the input, the impact, everything that you can kind of give us on her decision to move on.
Yeah, it wasn't one that shocked me all that much. Like, it's a story best told by Jordan herself, but I think people know the broad strokes of she was at Texas. Things didn't work out there, and she was suddenly, like right before the start of a season, and kind of came back to Nebraska and was able to come on in essentially like a volunteer role. And anytime you have a player like that around, I think it obviously helps. Jordan Larson stands as one of the best volleyball players in history, internationally, nationally. And she's from small town Nebraska. She is a Nebraskan. So the Huskers are always going to derive a benefit of her having played there. She won't be involved in hands-on instruction anymore, but she's also a person who has a ton going on between her professional volleyball career. But not just that, but she's also heavily involved with the league itself. So not that surprised. Wish her the best, of course, and we'll see where things go. I'm excited to see what happens next for her.
Yep. Oh, what about for Coach Cook? What happens with the staff in general, and just looking at the future of the program, which is always high, always good, but as usual, it's not rebuilding, it's reloading.
Yeah, it is. It'll be interesting to see what Nebraska does with that role. I'm always intrigued by when Nebraska does have an opening, because if you compare it to the football, like it's real easy to come up with a list of kind of like, oh, here's some likely candidates, just based on coaching connections. Cook has frequently gone out and pulled people from all over. I mean, Ty Hildebrand from a couple of years ago was a men's coach, kind of an up and comer. Cook went and got him. Jalen Reyes still on staff. Same sort of deal coming from Hawaii. So we'll see which way Nebraska goes there, but I have little doubt that they'll get a pretty strong volleyball mind, whichever way they choose to go.
All right, Brandon, we'll go from volleyball over to football. Nebraska is still in the area here of Rocco Spindler maybe coming to the Huskers, maybe going to Michigan. We don't really know. His name is in the directory, but that doesn't really mean a lot. They're kind of fighting up against the deadline of enrollment and whatnot, and this is just kind of the crazy world we live in because of college football and the stupid schedule. By the way, somehow we're going to be playing the national championship on January 25th in 2027. It's
ridiculous.
Like, it's absolutely insane. Regardless of that, if they don't end up getting Rocco Spindler to commit, it'll be, I think we did it earlier, it's either the 5th or 6th offensive lineman that Nebraska tried going out and just could not close the door on. In your opinion, what do you think needs to change in order for them to go out and just make sure they hammer these guys down?
Yeah, it's a really good question, and something that probably involves some additional investigation. So thank you for the idea.
Yeah,
I'll do that later.
I'd love to. I would read that. I would love for you to dive in on that because you're the guy to do it. I mean, that'd be incredible.
Because I'm trying to think, recently, so brought in a transfer last year. Ben Scott's kind of the shining example, the guy that's worked, but they've had a lot of players in. It's easier to remember. Well, there's certainly more that didn't come to Nebraska after showing up on campus. So, the Spindler thing came as a surprise after the national title game. I wrote Nebraska didn't fill its offensive line needs in the transfer portal, and now you're just going to have to wait until April, and things are going to be super competitive and more expensive in April. So the Spindler thing kind of came along. It's like, oh, well, maybe they're going to sneak one in under the deadline here, and maybe they still will. But what needs to change? Because I think from a NIL perspective, they should be very competitive for these proven offensive linemen, which are probably one of the 3 or 4 most valuable resources in the portal. They probably just need to win more. When you look at Spindler, and I know the season Michigan's coming off of, but Rocco Spindler just played for a national title at Notre Dame. One of the craziest and probably best when you look at how far they got, the offensive line seasons across that group, given everything they had to deal with. Now the choice is go to Michigan, which I think is one of those teams I'd have trending back up in the Big Ten. Or you're looking to some of the other programs. Even, I think he was in the mix at Pitt, where his dad played. Pitt had a pretty strong season. Tough close, but strong season. So I think that might be the key for Nebraska, kind of the extra kick they might need for some of these proven players in particular.
Should there be cause for concern for Husker fan based on all this, or you just kind of let it play out and relax, don't overreact?
Yeah, I think let it play out and see what happens in the spring. It'll be super important. It always is, but I think given the numbers and knowing that they want some additional players up there to stay healthy through the spring, and we'll see what happens. And then we'll see what the market is in April too. It might be a little bit different this year because the college football season went longer. And a lot of these players, Spindler's a little bit of an exception, but a lot of the heavy hitters like Ohio State, Notre Dame, the teams that were deep in the playoff, kind of didn't get to take a full swing at the transfer market. So we'll see what it's like in April. I think the money that gets thrown around at these guys could get pretty crazy for that reason.
Yeah, Ohio State's got to put that $20 million elsewhere, right? I mean, so it'll get a little interesting. So we'll leave you out here on this, Brandon. We're gonna have Matt Rule talk on Saturday. I don't know if you'll be there. We'll see if I end up getting out there. What is the top thing on your mind? What is the top thing that you need to get addressed for Matt Rule when he just does kind of his State of the Union about the current transfer portal in the upcoming season?
Yeah, I think that's a big one. Get his impressions of what needs they felt like they filled in the portal. Something I'm working on for this week still. I'd be interested in kind of having the opportunity to take a step back, like his impression on Dylan Raiola's freshman season. That would be a topic. And then I guess just kind of, I'm still interested in the Holgerson Butler thing. You know, when you look at two new coordinators, and they haven't practiced or anything, of course, yet, but like, what's that going to look like? You know, it's just the remove of the season's been over now, and we know how it concluded. Like, let's look at things with fresh eyes.
Sure.
I think all of those pieces of it will be of interest to me.
Brandon Vogel of counterread.com comes up on here every Wednesday at 9:40. Thank you so much, Brandon. Really appreciate it. Look forward to talking to you soon.
Thanks, guys. Have a good one.
Thanks, Brandon.
Thank you, Brandon. Hey, shout out Nebraska Ball Mike, who was our winner of our What's Up or What Comes Next contest. Hey, we will be doing that contest every single day from here until the Super Bowl.
And then next week, we were talking about this yesterday. For those wondering, the clips next week will all be Super Bowl clips.
All Super Bowl clips. So keep an eye to the radio. We'll be doing it around the same time, around kind of that 9 o'clock area. We'll play the clip. You call in.
I pick
first
the clips.
caller in tells us, hey, how did that end? You get 100 smackaroos in your pocket. Hey, great ball day today. We got a lot of good action going on.
Are you going to the game?
I might be.
They'll hook you up with those club level seats again.
I gotta think about it.
I
I gotta walk around, and I have to like do some things after the show. But then I'm thinking about it, so we'll figure that out. I might end up going. I don't know.
Mike Connor's intern.
But I also do want to sit down and man, it's great ball day. UConn plays DePaul, Northwestern plays Rutgers.
Yeah, you have to leave your quad box.
There's
That's
a
tough choice.
There's a lot of great college basketball on
Our
tonight.
Cats?
There's a lot of great college basketball on. I mean, there's other matchups that I'm just not looking at the schedule right now. But another team that's playing tonight. The UNO Mavericks take on the South Dakota Coyotes. That'll be on 1180, the radio station. Our friend Gary Sharp will be on the call. Let me look real quick because I don't want to fluff this up here when tip-off is exactly. Tip-off will be at 7 o'clock.
Hey, all right.
7 o'clock.
Before my
listening,
bedtime.
listening to the Mavs, who are having an incredible historic season.
6:30 pre.
6:30 pre. I'm Matt McMaster. That's Jimmy Chavez. Peter Mann on the ones and twos. Thank you so much for listening to Gary and Matt here on Hump Day on 1620 The Zone. We'll be back in 20 hours.